Chapter 78. First entry into Shenlong City, mysterious old man. Early the next morning, Xingchen bid farewell to Luo Qingshan, who looked reluctant to part. He recalled Luo Qingshan's appearance, like an ordinary woman sending her husband off, and his heart was filled with emotion. After finally coaxing Luo Qingshan into a good mood, Xingchen set off for the Yao race's teleportation array to the Southern Emperor State. Luo Qingshan originally wanted the Yao race old ancestor to secretly protect Xingchen, but Xingchen directly refused. Understanding her husband's character, Luo Qingshan did not insist. After all, Luo Qingshan was somewhat aware of her husband's strength. Her husband was very strong. At least her immortal Emperor realm aura had no effect in front of him. Looking at the disappearing Xingchen, Luo Qingshan spoke with authority. Have Xikong Giao and the other 10 come to the Emperor's palace to see this emperor. The Emperor Lord has gifts for them. As soon as Luo Qingshan finished speaking, a dark shadow appeared, bowed to Luo Qingshan, and then vanished. The scene shifts to Shenlong City, Southern Emperor State. At this moment, Xingchen was sitting in a classically decorated restaurant, slowly enjoying the specialty delicacies of the Southern Emperor State. Upon exiting the teleportation array, Xingchen was stunned by the massive city. It was simply too large, almost dozens of times the size of an ordinary city, at least dozens of times larger than Dongzhou City, which Xingchen had seen. Looking at the bustling crowds, Xingchen sighed slightly. The Southern Emperor State had a larger population, a larger area, and was more prosperous than Dongzhou. Not only was the immortal spiritual qi rich, but even the cultivation of ordinary people was stronger than those in Dongzhou. This was the difference between Dongzhou and the Southern Emperor State. After so many years, it was no wonder that Dongzhou always came in last in every state competition. There was a reason for this. Fortunately, the Yao race now had a spirit-gathering array, and the immortal spiritual qi was several times richer than in the Southern Emperor State. As time passed, various geniuses would emerge endlessly. Now with the dragon transformation pool, various powerful physiques would also appear one after another. Xingchen believed that it wouldn't be long before the Yao race would shock the divine wilderness, represent Dongzhou, win the state competition championship, and personally restore Dongzhou to its complete ancient name, Eastern Divine State. Looking at the bustling crowds below, Xingchen planned to stay in Shenlong City for a day to gather some basic information about the Southern Emperor State, and a restaurant was one of the fastest places to get news. Just like earlier, Xingchen already knew why this city was called Shenlong City. At this moment, a man and a woman, an old man and a young girl, were sitting at a table next to Xingchen, discussing the origin of Shenlong City's name. The man was a white-haired old man, who turned out to be a great Emperor Realm supreme expert who had hidden his cultivation. The woman, however, was a young maiden, whose strength had reached the terrifying Immortal Lord realm, which slightly surprised Xingchen. Xingchen listened to the conversation between the old man and the young girl. These two were likely grandfather and granddaughter, and the girl seemed to be out for the first time, curious about everything. She happened to ask the old man about the origin of Shenlong City's name. The white-haired old man, with a benevolent expression, explained the origin of Shenlong City's name to the young girl. Linger, ancient legends say that this city was not originally called Shenlong City, nor was it as massive as it is now. Instead, it suddenly transformed into its current appearance overnight. Ancient legends say that the day before the Immortal Demon War, dark clouds suddenly covered the sky above this city, thunder roared, and lightning tore through the heavens, illuminating the entire city as if it were daytime. A strong guardian of the city personally witnessed a several hundred zhang giant dragon descend with the thunder and burrow into the ground beneath this city. The next moment, space vibrated, the earth dragon rolled, and the entire city shook violently. Everyone thought the end of the world had come. But then, they suddenly discovered that the entire city began to rise continuously, and the surrounding ground also began to expand. Dragon roars constantly echoed. After an incense stick's time, the dragon roars vanished, but the city had undergone a massive transformation. It became its current appearance. Coincidentally, the demon race invaded the next day, and this city became the greatest contributor in blocking the demon race's invasion. Later, because of this giant city, the demon race's advance was halted, preventing them from reinforcing other demon races, thus leading to the demon race's great defeat. Later, people, moved by the city's contribution, recalled the scene of the 100-zhang giant dragon descending with the thunder that day and named it Shenlong City to commemorate this divine beast from the heavens. Upon hearing the white-haired old man's words, the young girl named Linger's face was filled with surprise. Even Xingchen was slightly surprised, never expecting Shenlong City to have such an origin. This massive city was not man-made, but naturally formed. Xingchen looked at the old man and the young girl, suddenly becoming interested in their origins. A great emperor expert who had hidden his cultivation. An immortal lord realm prodigy, so young in strength. Even the most prodigy of the Yao race, Xikong Guyao, who had been cultivated in the ancestral land since childhood, was only at the immortal king realm. Yet this young girl had reached the terrifying immortal lord realm, and was even younger. How could Xingchen not be interested? He had just left Dongzhou and already discovered a great emperor expert. Didn't they say great emperor experts were almost never seen? Could the great emperor in front of him be fake? Xingchen's lips curled into a slight smile. It seemed the divine wilderness was indeed as he had guessed, hiding too many secrets he didn't know. It was becoming more and more interesting. Casually looking at the old man and the young girl, Xingchen's first thought was that they must come from a hidden world, giant holy land. Otherwise, with the capabilities of the various major forces on the divine wilderness continent, they wouldn't be able to cultivate such outstanding prodigy disciples. Xingchen's lips curled into a slight smile. He took out a bottle of supreme, divine wine from his system space, opened it, and slowly began to drink. The rich aroma of the wine instantly caught the attention of the white-haired old man and the woman. The young girl even spoke directly to the white-haired old man. "Grandpa, what a rich wine aroma. Just smelling this aroma. It's many grades higher than the green spirit bamboo, wine you cherish." The white-haired old man's nose twitched, and he too was intrigued by this rich wine aroma. This was the first time he had ever smelled such a wine aroma. It was even more enticing than the green spirit bamboo, wine he had cherished for many years. Following the rich wine aroma, the white-haired old man looked over and saw a man in white robes with an unparalleled demeanor, savoring the fine wine with a look of intoxication. After an unintentional glance at the man in white robes, the white-haired old man was shocked to discover that he could not see through the cultivation of the man in white robes before him. This time, to reduce trouble, Xingchen had completely hidden his cultivation. It would be strange if the white-haired old man could see through Xingchen's cultivation, even if he was a great emperor expert. The white-haired old man seemed somewhat disbelieving. Although he had hidden his strength, he was a genuine great emperor realm supreme expert, one of the people standing at the very peak of the divine wilderness continent. Now, he actually couldn't see through a young man in white robes, which slightly surprised the white-haired old man. As if not believing in evil, he swept his divine sense and looked towards Xingchen again. At this moment, Xingchen's voice rang out, causing the white-haired old man and the young woman beside him to change greatly in expression, their faces filled with shock. "Old man, is it really appropriate for you to repeatedly probe this young master's strength with your divine sense?" Chapter 79. The Hidden Su Family and the Charm of Divine Wine. At this moment, the white-haired old man realized that he couldn't see through the young man, causing a slight shock in his heart. But at this moment, Xingchen's voice rang out. "Old man, as a senior, is it polite to repeatedly probe a junior with your divine sense?" Hearing Xingchen's words, the white-haired old man's face showed a trace of shock, while the beautiful face of the young woman showed a hint of interest. The white-haired old man was shocked that the young man was actually able to perceive his divine sense probing. The young woman, meanwhile, looked at Xingchen with a face full of curiosity, a handsome man who exuded an unparalleled aura. Looking at the smiling Xingchen, the white-haired old man felt slightly awkward. After all, as a senior, such an action was truly beneath his dignity. "Young friend, please don't take offense. This old man did not intend to probe your cultivation, but was drawn by the wine you were drinking. This old man observes that your eyes conceal a divine light, and your aura is unparalleled. May I ask where your immortal sect is located?" Looking at the smiling Xingchen, the white-haired old man asked naturally. Hearing the white-haired old man's question, Xingchen was 100% certain in his heart that this old man and young woman came from a hidden world, giant holy land power. Otherwise, given the old man's age, if he were a person of the divine wilderness continent, he would definitely introduce himself first before asking about others. The fact that the old man did this without feeling anything inappropriate meant there was only one possibility. The old man was not a person of the divine wilderness continent, or he rarely set foot in the divine wilderness. Furthermore, judging by the white-haired old man's very natural questioning tone, it was easy to tell that the old man must have been in a high position for a long time, completely oblivious to such impropriety. Hearing the old man's words, Xingchen glanced at him, smiled slightly, and said nothing, continuing instead to drink his supreme divine wine. Xingchen was not going to indulge them. Whether they were great emperor experts or members of powerful organizations, their status meant nothing to Xingchen. This was about basic respect. Seeing Xingchen's reaction, the white-haired old man frowned slightly, while the young woman knitted her delicate brows and spoke up to Xingchen. Why are you like this? Grandpa kindly explained himself to you. Why won't you even respond? Hearing the young woman's words, Xingchen confirmed his suspicions even further, and he smiled slightly in return. Before asking someone a question, you should at least introduce yourself first. We are strangers. When the old man questioned this young master, shouldn't he have introduced himself first? That is basic respect, isn't it? The old man arbitrarily probed this young master with his divine sense, which was already a very impolite action. Now he directly asks about this young master's origins. Shouldn't he introduce himself first? Looking at the young woman's slight frown, Xingchen spoke calmly. In his previous life, he had bowed his head everywhere for survival, enduring countless grievances, only to be framed by his closest kin in the end. Now that he was reborn, Xingchen had secretly sworn in his heart that he would never suffer any more injustice. At this moment, hearing the calm voice of the man in white robes, the white-haired old man and the young woman were slightly stunned. Then, the white-haired old man seemed to remember something, and he looked at Xingchen and smiled slightly. Ah, young friend is right. This old man was indeed rude just now. This old man is Su Longxiao, and this is my granddaughter, Su Linger. We are from the hidden Su family. At this moment, if any other top powers of the divine wilderness heard Su Longxiao's words, they would be greatly shocked. The hidden Su family was in existence ranked highly among the hidden world giant holy lands. Hearing Su Longxiao's words, Xingchen calmly looked at the two of them and spoke. I am Xingchen, and I come from the Yao race. Not only was Xingchen not surprised, but his expression was completely calm. Hearing Xingchen's words, bright flashes of light instantly burst forth in Su Longxiao's eyes, and Su Linger even exclaimed, You are that Demon Clan Emperor, 9th rank alchemist Xingchen? But aren't the rumors that your strength is only in the innate realm? However, it seems that rumors truly cannot be trusted. Hearing Su Linger's words, Xingchen was somewhat surprised. Was he that famous now? Even hidden families knew of his existence? What Xingchen didn't know was that his identity as a 9th rank alchemist had long since caused a sensation on the divine wilderness continent, and behind many major powers were shadows of the hidden world giant holy lands. Many powers even tried to draw Xingchen's appearance, only to discover, to their shock, that although they had memories of Xingchen in their minds, they could not recall his face no matter what. Furthermore, the fact that Xingchen could refine the life divine spring, which extends life by 50 years, had long been reported by the major powers of the divine wilderness to the hidden world giant holy lands behind them. Therefore, it was not strange that the hidden world giant holy lands knew of Xingchen. At this moment, Xingchen looked at Su Linger, smiled slightly, and said, Miss Su is right. Some rumors cannot be entirely trusted. Sometimes, seeing is not necessarily believing, let alone mere rumors. Su Longxiao, meanwhile, spoke with a chuckle. Young friend Yi is right. However, this old man observes that young friend Yi is also no ordinary person. Knowing that this old man is from a hidden family, yet showing no surprise and remaining so calm, young friend Yi is quite extraordinary. Hearing Su Longxiao's words, Xingchen merely smiled slightly and remained silent. Seriously, why should he be surprised? Not only did he not know what the hidden Su family represented, but even if he did, Xingchen wouldn't be surprised. Nowadays, things that could surprise Xingchen were growing fewer and fewer. Seeing Xingchen remain silent, Su Longxiao spoke. Did young friend come to the Southern Emperor State this time to participate in the sparring competition between the disciples of the great Yin dynasty's various major powers? What the old man said is not quite right. I came this time to attend the auction. Hearing Xingchen's words, Su Longxiao smiled slightly and said, Young friend, you might not know, but more and more people are coming to the great Yin dynasty this time. The ultimate goal of the great Yin dynasty is for the disciples of the major powers to spar. The so-called auction has long been rendered meaningless. Hearing Su Longxiao's words, Xingchen was completely unfazed. Xingchen's original purpose was also to let the Yao race disciples gain experience in the Southern Emperor State. He never intended to participate in the so-called auction anyway. Thank you, old man, for the information. I invite the two of you to have a drink. Seeing Su Longxiao's constantly twitching nose, Xingchen smiled slightly, waved his hand, and 2 bottles of supreme divine wine appeared on the table in front of Su Longxiao and Su Linger as he spoke. Looking at the wine bottles made of top-grade spirit stone, a hint of surprise flashed in the eyes of both Su Longxiao and Su Linger. No wonder the wine aroma was so rich. Fine wine contained in top-grade spirit stones would definitely not be bad. Looking at Xingchen, Su Longxiao did not refuse. The truth was that the wine aroma was simply too tempting for him. Su Longxiao's greatest hobby in life was fine wine. He could be said to be addicted to it. Therefore, when he stepped onto the divine wilderness continent, he had sought out all kinds of fine wine in the divine wilderness, but the results had always been unsatisfactory. Nodding slightly to Yi Xingchen, Su Longxiao impatiently opened the bottle, held it under his nose, and took a deep sniff. He then closed his eyes, a look of intoxication on his face, and couldn't help but swallow before taking a hearty gulp into his mouth. He smacked his lips with a look of rapture, his eyes shining brightly, and he spoke with enthusiasm. Good wine, truly good wine. In the divine wilderness continent today, if one speaks of delicious food, it must be Qianxia Tower, but if one speaks of fine wine, this wine must be the absolute best. Good wine, truly good wine. Hearing Su Longxiao's words, an imperceptible light flashed deep in Yi Xingchen's eyes, and he thought inwardly, it seems Yuan Long and Qing Feng have already opened up the situation. Qianxia Tower has indeed established a firm foothold in the Central Emperor province. Looking at the smiling Yi Xingchen, Su Longxiao spoke. Emperor Yi, this old man cannot take advantage of you for nothing. I have a piece of information here that I will share with Emperor Yi. Currently, the major hidden world giant holy lands have decided to use this great Yin dynasty disciple competition to announce their emergence. Among them, the hidden Qin family is the power behind Shangqing Palace. I hope Emperor Yi will be extremely careful. Hearing Su Longxiao's words, Yi Xingchen smiled slightly, his face completely calm, and he nodded slightly towards Su Longxiao. Thank you, old man, for sharing this news with me. I appreciate this favor. The next moment, Su Longxiao suddenly looked at Yi Xingchen with shining eyes and a shocked expression, his gaze filled with disbelief. Chapter 80. Su Longxiao's shock and entering the endless forest. At this moment, Su Longxiao looked at the hundreds of bottles of fine wine that had suddenly appeared before him, his eyes immediately lighting up. He stared at Yi Xingchen in shock, his gaze filled with disbelief. Emperor Yi, what is the meaning of this? Su Longxiao asked Yi Xingchen. Old man, this news is trivial to me. I fear no threat. If any force intends to harm the Yao race, for me, it is merely a matter of one sword strike. At this time, Yi Xingchen exuded an incomparably terrifying, overbearing intent, mixed with traces of sharp intent. However, the people of the Yao race are not ungrateful. Since the old man was able to inform me of this news, I, as the Demon Clan Emperor, naturally thank you. These 100 bottles of supreme, divine wine are my treat for you. As soon as Yi Xingchen finished speaking, he vanished, leaving only several supreme, immortal stones on the table. Su Linger, who was standing beside him, looked at the suddenly vanished Yi Xingchen as if it were routine, without any surprise. She looked at her grandfather with a smile and said sweetly, Grandfather, Linger thinks this Demon Clan Emperor is too arrogant. Besides his outstanding temperament, he doesn't seem as brilliant as the rumors say. At this moment, Su Longxiao seemed to have been frozen in place, staring blankly in the direction where Yi Xingchen had vanished, his face filled with shock. Seeing Su Longxiao like this for the first time, Su Linger found it highly amusing. She reached out and waved her hand in front of Su Longxiao's eyes, calling out, Grandfather, Grandfather! He's already gone. Why are you still staring? Even if you keep looking, he won't give you more fine wine. These 100 bottles of fine wine are enough for you to drink for a long time. I didn't expect this person wasn't completely useless. At least he knows gratitude. Seeing that her grandfather still hadn't reacted, Su Linger rolled her beautiful eyes and mischievously said, Grandfather, Grandfather, if you don't speak, Linger is going to take these hundreds of bottles of fine wine and drink them herself. Only then, hearing Su Linger's words, did Su Longxiao snap back to reality, exclaiming with a shocked expression, What powerful, domineering air! What terrifying sword intent! This young man possesses such a terrifying aura at such a young age. Hearing her grandfather's words, Su Linger frowned slightly and said, Grandfather, are you getting old and slow? Although what Yi Xingchen said just now was a bit domineering, Linger feels he's just bragging. How could he understand the power of the hidden family? Merely a sword strike. Does this Demon Clan Emperor think he's a sword god? Hearing his granddaughter's words, Su Longxiao was even more shocked internally. It seemed the terrifying aura of the Demon Clan Emperor just now was entirely directed at him. For him, a great Emperor realm expert, to feel slightly shocked, this young man's strength was definitely not the innate realm as rumored. It seemed the competition between the disciples of the major forces in the Great Yin dynasty this time would be quite spectacular. At this moment, looking at Su Linger, who was pouting and looking at him with a wronged expression, Su Longxiao smiled kindly and said, Who offended our Linger? Tell Grandfather, and Grandfather will avenge you. It was Grandfather. Linger was talking to Grandfather just now, but Grandfather didn't pay attention to Linger. Grandfather must have been thinking about all this fine wine and didn't hear a word Linger said. Seeing his granddaughter's wronged look, and remembering what Linger had said earlier, Su Longxiao spoke to Su Linger with a serious expression. Linger, grandfather's telling you very seriously. This demon clan emperor is absolutely not as simple as he appears. If you ever meet him again, you absolutely must not become his enemy. It would be best if you could become friends with him. You must remember grandfather's words. At this moment, Su Linger, who had just been pretending to be wronged, saw her grandfather's serious demeanor for the first time. Knowing her grandfather's character, Su Linger nodded very seriously and whispered, "Grandfather, is this demon clan emperor really that powerful to earn such high praise from you?" Looking at his granddaughter, Su Longxiao put away the 100 bottles of supreme divine wine, looked in the direction where Xingchen had vanished, and spoke with a serious expression. With this demon clan emperor, the Yao race can contend with all the forces of the divine wilderness and dominate the world. Hearing her grandfather Su Longxiao's words, Su Linger trembled, shock appearing in her eyes. She turned to look in the direction where Xingchen had vanished, a mischievous glint flashing in her beautiful eyes. Meanwhile, Xingchen had already arrived in a deep part of the endless forest. The air here was not filled with evil intent, as Xingchen had imagined. Instead, the immortal spiritual qi was surprisingly dense. The reason Xingchen came to Shenlong City in the southern Emperor State instead of taking a teleportation array directly to Yin Emperor City, where the great Yin dynasty was located, was because Xingchen had learned from Luo Qingshan a long time ago. The entrance to Avicii Hell was outside Shenlong City, deep within the endless forest. The entire endless forest spanned tens of millions of miles and contained countless dangers and various opportunities. In the outer regions, numerous treasure hunters could be seen searching for treasures on the outskirts of the endless forest. After all, this place was once a battlefield during the war between immortals and demons, so it was highly possible to find some opportunities. However, these people only searched for treasure on the periphery of the endless forest. No one dared to venture deep into the endless forest. One must know that the entrance to Avicii Hell was there, a terrifying existence called the Emperor's Tomb by the people of the Divine Wilderness. After leaving the wine shop, Xingchen slowly but steadily made his way to the endless forest, where he saw quite a few treasure hunters. Xingchen swept his divine sense across the area, and the entire endless forest appeared in his mind. After confirming the location, Xingchen flashed and disappeared. Two middle-aged men who were searching for treasure here both sighed lightly, shook their heads helplessly, and said, "Did you see that? Another arrogant young man who doesn't know his own limits, daring to go deep into the endless forest. Looking at his appearance and aura, it's a bit of a waste. TCH, big brother, you think too highly of him. He clearly looks like a young man sent out from a family for training, without any experience. Whether this kid can even enter the depths of the endless forest is still unknown." Xingchen was unaware of the conversation between the two middle-aged men. At this moment, Xingchen traveled unimpeded all the way to the deep part of the endless forest. At this moment, an entrance that continuously emitted black gas appeared in Xingchen's sight. Feeling the evil and violent intent within the black gas, Xingchen confirmed that this was the entrance to Avicii Hell. Rushing along this path, Xingchen hadn't encountered any danger. He even discovered several supreme immortal medicines that were rarely seen in 10,000 years, along with countless types of immortal fruits and spirit medicines. Xingchen guessed that all of this might be related to his physique, the great Tao Chaos body, whose luck was heaven-defying. He even harvested an extremely precious ingredient in the endless forest, the seven-colored elk. The reason Xingchen knew this was because the alchemy true explanation had an introduction. The antlers of the seven-colored elk could be classified as immortal medicine. Its blood could be used as an ingredient for spirit medicine, and its meat, when tasted, offered endless aftertaste. It was an absolute delicacy of the divine wilderness. The only drawback was that the seven-colored elk would die very quickly after being captured, and its meat needed to be consumed within 2 hours. Otherwise, the meat would quickly change color and rot, becoming one of the top 10 deadliest poisons in the divine wilderness. Therefore, the moment Xingchen discovered the seven-colored elk, he immediately captured it and placed it inside the system space. Taking a look at the entrance to Avicii Hell, Xingchen decided to have a good meal before entering Avicii Hell. After all, if too much time passed, this rare and sought-after seven-colored elk meat would turn from a divine wilderness delicacy into a divine wilderness poison. Sweeping his divine sense, Xingchen instantly flashed to a massive waterfall in the endless forest. A natural cave was actually hidden inside the waterfall. If Xingchen's divine sense hadn't been powerful, he truly wouldn't have found it. Flashing inside, Xingchen found that the area was extremely dry, making it an excellent secret location. However, just as Xingchen was sighing in admiration, A figure rapidly approached the waterfall where Xingchen was located, and the next moment, it plunged directly into the extremely deep water pool beneath the waterfall. A moment later, several terrifying and powerful auras descended. Xingchen, standing at the cave entrance, sensed several streams of divine sense probing the area. An evil voice rang out. She's not here. Did that woman, Xiaoyajun, really enter Avicii hell? The voice carried an incomparably terrifying pressure, spreading outward like ripples. It was actually a powerful sound wave attack. Chapter 81. Immortal Emperor Pursuit, the terror of the sky-covering giant hand. At that moment, that evil voice sounded, carrying an incomparably terrifying pressure, like a ripple, spreading towards the surroundings. It was actually a powerful sonic attack. Xingchen swept his divine sense, and several powerful individuals exuding terrifying aura outside the waterfall entered Xingchen's mind. The leading man was a middle-aged man with a ferocious face and an evil look, his eyes emitting a cruel light like those of a hungry wolf. A deep scar face on his face made the man look even more ferocious, and the aura emanating from his body was actually that of an unparalleled immortal Emperor Realm expert. The several immortal king experts behind him also had ferocious expressions, their eyes scanning around, like several hungry wolves choosing flesh to devour, their terrifying aura making people shudder. However, after a moment of pause, the leading man's sonic attack completely disappeared, and he still couldn't find the woman's figure. The leading man became exasperated and directly raised his hand, slamming a palm towards the pool in front of him, instantly causing the entire water surface to explode, with water splashes several zhang high erupting. Xiaoyajun, you escaped this calamity. Next time, let's go. The leading Scarface finished speaking and turned to leave directly. Soon, the several immortal king experts behind him also followed and disappeared. Xingchen swept his divine sense and curled his lips slightly. These several immortal king experts, led by the Scarface Immortal Emperor, were actually hiding nearby and hadn't left, showing how cunning these people were. And the woman hiding in the depths of the pool was still maintaining her previous posture, without the slightest change, or rather, daring not to have the slightest change. 2 hours later, these experts appeared again. These people were truly cunning, actually waiting for 2 hours before appearing again, showing how deep their scheming was. And the woman in the pool was equally clever, probably knowing from the beginning that this group of experts hadn't really left and had been maintaining her previous posture without the slightest change. And Xingchen, during these 2 hours, watched the performance of both sides with great interest from a god's eye view, making Xingchen feel very amused. Looking at the 7-colored elk that had just died in the system space, Xingchen felt slightly relieved. After all, there were still 2 hours before the 7-colored elk would turn into a terrifying poison, and the time was completely sufficient. After several more sweeps of divine sense, the leading Scarface muttered to himself, could it be that this Xiaoyajun has really entered Avicii hell? At this moment, Xingchen was also very curious. It was only natural that these experts' divine sense couldn't detect him. But they were still unable to detect the woman in the depths of the pool, which made Xingchen curious about what method the woman used to avoid the divine sense detection of the Scarface Immortal Emperor expert. At this time, a man behind Scarface spoke up. Boss, now that Xiaoyajun, that woman, has escaped, it will be difficult to have such an opportunity again. After all, the power behind Xiaoyajun is not something we can afford to offend. We have now completely offended her. Not only have we failed to complete that person's mission and failed to get the reward, but when she goes back, our brothers will not have a good time. Go back and tell that person that the mission has been completed, Xiaoyajun has been killed by us and sent into Avicii hell. Take the remaining reward, and we'll leave directly. Go to Central Emperor Province. Even if the power behind Xiaoyajun is strong, if our brothers hide among some ordinary forces, it will probably be extremely difficult to find us. As for that person, although his strength is powerful, he cannot act at will. Once he acts, he will expose himself, posing almost no threat to us. The leading Scarface said to the people behind him, glanced at the people behind him, and Scarface continued. If that day really comes, and we are caught by the forces behind Xiaoyajun, we will expose that person. Anyway, it was that person who wanted her life, and we were just taking money to do things. At that time, we will be considered to have made a contribution, and maybe we can get a considerable reward. Let's go. Go back, take the reward, and let's leave here early and go to Central Emperor Province. As soon as the leading man finished speaking, suddenly the heaven and earth shook, the sky twisted for a while, and a sky-covering hand suddenly appeared, grabbing towards the people. The terrifying aura caused the several immortal king experts behind the Scarface Immortal Emperor to widen their eyes, their faces filled with horror, and their bodies trembled non-stop like sieves. The next moment, Ah, ah. Several screams rang out, and several Immortal King Realm experts were directly grabbed into the sky-covering giant hand without even a trace of resistance, and instantly crushed. Even the immortal infant in their bodies were directly annihilated, and that immortal Emperor Realm Scarface, looking at the sky-covering giant hand, seemed to have remembered something, and beads of sweat the size of beans kept sliding down his cheeks. A terrifying immortal Emperor Realm aura gushed out from his body, and he actually turned around directly and fled towards the outside of the endless forest at an extremely fast speed. The speed was so fast, as if he was afraid of being caught by the sky-covering giant hand. However, the next moment, something that shocked the Scarface happened. No matter how he ran or how he circulated the immortal spiritual power throughout his body, it was as if he was standing still, and the sky-covering giant hand was getting closer and closer to him. The next moment, the Scarface was directly grabbed into the sky-covering giant hand, and no matter how he struggled, he couldn't escape. At this moment, looking at the sky-covering giant hand, he immediately begged loudly for mercy. "Great sir, spare me. Great sir, spare me. Please give this lowly one another chance. This lowly one will definitely bring this woman Xiaoyajun to great sir." At this moment, where was there even a trace of the majesty of an immortal emperor expert in the Scarface? He was no different from a mortal, his face filled with pleading. As if hearing the Scarface's words, the sky-covering giant hand suddenly stopped. Seeing this scene, the Scarface seemed to see hope of surviving, and immediately shouted loudly, "Great sir, spare me. Great sir, this lowly one knows that this woman Xiaoyajun will definitely return to the forces behind her. This lowly one will definitely prepare properly this time and capture her. Please give this lowly one another chance." However, the next moment, the Scarface suddenly had bulging eyes and several streams of blood flowed from his mouth, his face filled with disbelief, and he stuttered, You, how ruthless. Xiaoyajun will not let you go." As soon as he finished speaking, the Scarface suddenly spat out several streams of blood. A generation of immortal emperor expert actually died here, and his body slowly turned into countless fragments, scattered into the endless forest. At this time, above the endless forest, the sky wept blood, sprinkling across the horizon, and a sense of sadness filled the entire endless forest. The immortal emperor expert has fallen, and even the heavenly Tao is moved by it, sending down a rain of blood to show sorrow. And throughout the endless forest, all the experts searching for treasures in the outer areas suddenly felt a burst of sadness involuntarily, and the entire sky began to rain red blood, instantly shocking them. The sky rains blood, the immortal emperor falls. In the depths of the endless forest, an immortal emperor expert actually fell here. At this moment, in the depths of the endless forest, the sky-covering giant hand slowly disappeared, the distorted sky returned to normal, and a dignified voice faintly sounded within. "Dare to deceive this emperor, you deserve to be destroyed." After that, the sky-covering giant hand disappeared, and the sky completely returned to normal. The blood rain stopped. If it weren't for seeing it with their own eyes, who could believe that an immortal emperor expert would have fallen here just now? And that sky-covering giant hand, Xingchen guessed, at least possessed great emperor realm cultivation. Otherwise, it would be impossible for an immortal emperor expert to have no power to resist. Xingchen sat in the cave in the waterfall, watching all this with interest. About an incense stick of time later, the woman in the depths of the pool slowly revealed her figure, and after confirming that it was safe, she slowly walked out of the pool. However, the next moment, Xingchen instantly opened his mouth wide, his face filled with shock, and he couldn't help but lower his head immediately. Chapter 82. A Coincidence, a Mysterious Woman. At this moment, Xingchen stared at the woman walking out of the pond and couldn't help but freeze. She was a stunning beauty. A gentle, noble aura radiated from her, and the white dress soaked by the pond clung to her body, outlining her perfect, graceful figure. She lifted a hand to tuck a strand of wet hair behind her ear. Even that simple gesture felt like a spring breeze, intoxicating to behold. When she reached the bank, her divine sense swept the area. Only after confirming it was safe did she spit out a mouthful of blood. Her face turned deathly pale, and she collapsed in the mud beside the pond. She had been gravely injured all along. Only after making sure she was safe did she finally fail to hold back the blood and fall powerlessly to the ground. Xingchen was about to help when the woman flipped her palm and produced a medicinal pill brimming with immortal spiritual power. She placed it directly into her mouth. Moments later, the paleness vanished from her cheeks, and her complexion regained a healthy flush. She slowly sat cross-legged, frowning slightly at the mud on her clothes. She glanced at the clear pond, swept her divine sense across the depths of the endless forest, and only when certain no one was around did she stand and walk toward the waterfall cave where Xingchen hid. What happened next left Xingchen stunned. Her clothes slipped off, and she swam straight toward the waterfall, clearly intending to wash away the mud. Xingchen, watching her draw closer to the cave mouth, felt as though he had turned to stone. Moments later, she surfaced beneath the falls, dove under, and when she emerged again, a breathtaking smile finally graced her face. Looking up, she spotted a natural cave behind the waterfall. Curious, she rose and walked toward it. Shameless. A mortified, furious cry rang out as the woman saw a man sitting motionless, staring straight at her. The gentlewoman erupted with murderous intent and swung her palm at Xingchen. He quickly turned away, waving his hands in frantic explanation. "Miss, if I said this was pure coincidence, would you believe me?" Xingchen was secretly shocked. So this Xiaoya Jun is also an immortal Emperor realm expert. Yet Xiaoya Jun paid him no heed. She raised her hand to strike him dead on the spot. But in the next instant her body shuddered, she coughed up blood from sheer fury, and slowly collapsed. After a pause, Xingchen turned back to find the stunning Xiaoya Jun unconscious on the ground, blood at the corner of her lips. He could only sigh in resignation. He understood her rage, yet he was innocent. Everything had truly been coincidence. With a flick of his hand, he took a set of his own clothes from the system space, dressed her from a distance, then carried her to a flat spot inside the cave. Next, he produced a drop of life-divine spring and fed it to her. Once her color fully returned, he gathered wood, cleaned the 7-colored elk, and set it roasting. About the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, a rich aroma filled the cave. Even Xingchen marveled. Worthy of a top-tier ingredient, the 7-colored elk smelled absolutely divine. Suddenly, Xiaoya Jun's nose twitched. She sprang upright, and, seeing Xingchen before her, blazed with anger. As if remembering something, she looked down to find herself wearing a man's clothes. Her face flushed scarlet, and she shifted in mortification. Sensing her wake, Xingchen turned to see her crimson-faced and glaring. He gave an awkward smile. "You're awake. Your injuries should be mostly healed. Rest tonight, and you'll be fully recovered by tomorrow." Xiaoya Jun's brows knit. She found her grievous wounds nearly mended and would be whole by the next day at most. Moreover, her lifespan had noticeably increased. But when she remembered how Xingchen had sat there, staring at her without blinking, Xiaoya Jun's teeth itched with hatred. She shot him a fierce glare. The man in front of her had secretly watched her, yet had also saved her life. Now Xiaoya Jun's heart was torn, and she truly didn't know how to deal with him. After glaring at Xingchen, Xiaoya Jun spun around to leave. Suddenly, Xingchen's voice rang out. "Miss, your injuries haven't fully healed. The journey from here to the edge of the endless forest is extremely dangerous. You'd better wait until tomorrow, when your injuries are completely recovered, before setting off." Hearing the man's words, Xiaoya Jun whirled around in anger and stared at Xingchen. Her gaze so fierce, it looked ready to devour him. Meeting that devouring stare, Xingchen gave an awkward laugh and changed the subject. "Miss, you've come at the right time. Today you're in for a treat. The 7-colored elk I'm roasting is done to perfection. This is a divine wilderness delicacy rarely encountered. Here's a leg for you." With that, Xingchen handed Xiaoya Jun a large piece of fragrant elk meat. Though the rich aroma filled the air, Xiaoya Jun sniffed disdainfully, ignored Xingchen, walked to a flat spot, sat cross-legged, and began to meditate and heal her injuries. Seeing her reaction, Xingchen chuckled helplessly, stopped insisting, and started eating on his own. The 7-colored elk truly deserved its reputation as a top ingredient. The meat melted on the tongue, brimming with life essence. The incredible flavor almost made Xingchen bite his own tongue. Unable to resist the aroma, Xiaoya Jun slowly opened her eyes. Watching Xingchen wolf down the meat, her stomach betrayed her with a loud growl. When Xingchen looked up, Xiaoya Jun's face flushed scarlet. She sniffed coldly and turned away. Seeing her crimson cheeks, Xingchen picked up a huge leg of elk, walked over, set it beside her, and said with a smile, "Miss, such flavor is rarely found. Taste it. Eating well will help you recover faster." His words sounded reasonable. Blushing, Xiaoya Jun picked up the meat and took a small bite. Her eyes lit up, and she secretly marveled. So the legendary 7-colored elk really is delicious and packed with life essence that can speed my recovery. She sneaked a glance at Xingchen and then began to eat heartily. The elk was large, and Xingchen passed her several more pieces. Without speaking, the two of them wordlessly shared the 7-colored elk meat. Before they knew it, they had devoured the entire elk. Xingchen patted his stomach, looking utterly satisfied. Xiaoya Jun's cheeks were crimson. Even she hadn't imagined she could eat so much 7-colored elk meat. Seeing her flushed face, Xingchen remarked, "Wonderful. The seven-colored elk truly is a top delicacy. Sadly, it can only be chanced upon. Who knows when we'll taste it again? Xiaojun gave no reply, only glanced at him, then closed her eyes, intent on refining the vast life essence within the meat to heal her remaining injuries. Watching her, Xingchen felt he ought to explain, so he spoke up. Miss, I truly didn't mean to look at you today. It was because... Before he could finish, Xiaojun opened her eyes, shame and anger on her face. You're still talking about it. Her words sounded like a lover's coquetry, and her cheeks flushed even redder. Seeing her crimson face and fierce stare, Xingchen wisely shut his mouth. The next moment, 3 terrifying auras descended, and Xingchen thought to himself. They say it's rare to meet anyone deep in the endless forest. What's going on today? Could they be here for Xiaojun? Just who is this woman? So mysterious. Chapter 83. Xiaojun's Origins, a Delicate Atmosphere. At this moment, just as Xingchen and Xiaojun were sinking into awkwardness, 3 terrifying immortal emperor auras arrived at the waterfall with lightning speed. When the 3 middle-aged men appeared, Xiaojun's face changed and her brows knitted tightly together. Sensing her reaction, Xingchen swept the area with his divine sense and found that the auras of the 3 immortal emperors closely resembled the terrifying heaven-covering giant hand from moments ago. In an instant he understood why Xiaojun's brows were furrowed. After the 3 immortal emperors swept the place with their divine sense, all of them frowned, which slightly eased Xiaojun's anxious heart. Glancing at Xingchen, she realized why her divine sense had missed him. In this cave it truly was impossible to detect anything. Right now, one of the immortal emperors spoke. It's right here, no mistake. The heavenly Tao weeps blood. An immortal emperor has fallen. It must be that scar-faced immortal emperor who was slain by the old ancestor. But why is there not the slightest trace of that woman Xiaojun? Hearing this, another immortal emperor said, Big brother, could Xiaojun really have entered Avicii hell? Big brother, second brother, look at the pool. The third immortal emperor called to the other 2. At the shout, the 2 quickly turned toward the pool. The one called Big Brother made a grabbing motion through the air, and Xiaojun's white robe that had fallen into the water was seized in his hand. Seeing the mud on the garment, the eldest casually shattered it to dust and growled. Looks like Xiaojun really escaped. What a pity. Such a perfect chance, and we still failed to catch her. At these words, the other 2 immortal emperors also frowned. One of them said, Boss, what do we do? If the old ancestor learns the 3 of us didn't bring her back, I'm afraid we'll. Let's go. We'll report honestly. Fortunately, the woman doesn't know it was our Tianwu pavilion. We'll find another chance later. The boss is right. The old ancestor's power reaches the heavens. Any lie would be seen through. It's just that Xiaojun was born with the Xian Phoenix body, the finest dual cultivation physique, and she's already reached the immortal emperor realm. Truly a shame we missed her. If the old ancestor could dual cultivate with her, his strength would surely break through the great emperor realm and reach a higher level. Then our Tianwu pavilion would rise another step among the hidden world giant holy land forces, though still not equal to those that remain. The second-ranking immortal emperor, meeting the gazes of the other 2, left the sentence unfinished, as if some secret were involved. Talking is useless now. Xiaojun, as palace lord of the hidden world giant holy land, the purple firmament palace, has exalted status. Every outing is secretly guarded by a great emperor. Among the hidden powers, who doesn't know Xiaojun has a Xian Phoenix body? Who doesn't desire her? They just lack opportunity or pretend to be saints. Who knows what they do in the dark? The eldest of the 3 said to the others, Big brother, is the Xian Phoenix body so powerful that so many coveted in secret? The second immortal emperor asked. The Xian Phoenix body is one of the world's rarest mutated physiques, appearing once in millions of years. Dual cultivating with such a woman allows one to directly obtain all her cultivation, aptitude, comprehension ability, even her luck itself. Wouldn't that tempt those great emperors who have long failed to advance? Moreover, Xiaojun's aptitude and comprehension are outstanding, and her luck is heaven-defying. Once she accidentally obtained the Great Emperor Pearl left by a fallen Great Emperor. Within a few years, she became an immortal emperor, driving the hidden Great Emperor old ancestors even crazier. After all, an immortal realm Xian Phoenix body is rarer than 1 in 100 million years. Dual cultivating with her grants not only her aptitude, comprehension, and heaven-defying luck, but also her entire immortal emperor cultivation, very likely letting those great emperors advance another step. And Xiaojun herself is born with stunning beauty, a gentle, spring breeze temperament. Who wouldn't desire her? Ha ha ha. The eldest immortal emperor explained the effects of the Xian phoenix body to the other two. After dual cultivation, what happens to the woman? The second immortal emperor asked. After dual cultivation, she loses all cultivation and becomes an ordinary mortal with at most 10 years of life. She might even die on the spot. Even if she survives, her lifespan won't exceed 100 years. A tragedy of the Xian phoenix body, unless... Hearing their eldest brother, the two quickly asked, "Unless what? Don't keep us in suspense, boss." "Yeah, boss, speak up. Unless what?" Looking at his anxious brothers, the eldest continued. "But the great Tao is incomplete and always leaves a thread of hope. If she meets a man who possesses the great Tao chaos body and dual cultivates with him, she could be reborn in fire, ascend completely, and evolve into the Xian divine body, a truly supreme physique. Then the phoenix will dance across the 9 heavens and roam the world at will. Yet the great Tao chaos body has been extremely rare since ancient times. Every man born with it is a heaven-chosen prodigy who suppresses an entire era. And even if Xiaoyajun met such a man, so what? Unless the two trust each other utterly, willing to give their lives. How could she know that the man with the great Tao chaos body isn't after everything she has? For Xiaoyajun, possessing the Xian phoenix body is itself a tragedy. Fortunately, the Purple Firmament Palace is a women-only sect, sparing her worries. Otherwise, she might have been secretly murdered before maturing. Listening to the three men's talk, Xingchen turned to Xiaoyajun and found her face crimson as she stared at him. Xingchen could see sorrow and gloom in the depths of her eyes. The two locked gazes, entering a very subtle atmosphere. As if sensing the delicate mood, Xiaoyajun shot Xingchen a fierce glare and turned her head away. She felt an inexplicable closeness to this man, a sensation that puzzled her. Never in all her years had she experienced such a feeling, aside from fury when the man accidentally saw her. She now trusted him instinctively, able to take the venison he offered without the slightest doubt. Watching Xiaoyajun, Xingchen felt a whirl of emotions. Wasn't he himself possessed of the great Tao chaos body? And as a man, his possessive instinct told him that since he had seen Xiaoyajun, she was his, he would never allow another to snatch what belonged to him. Sensing his gaze, Xiaoyajun turned and glared at him again, letting out a soft hum that sounded almost like a coquettish complaint. The hum had barely sounded when Xiaoyajun's expression changed dramatically. Xingchen gave a wry smile, and the next instant she grabbed his hand and vanished. With a thunderous boom, the cave they had occupied was flattened by a single palm strike from the three immortal emperors. The entire mountain with its great waterfall disappeared, and a majestic voice rang through the air. "Audacious! Who hides within, daring to eavesdrop on our secrets?" Chapter 84. Using herself as bait, 1 against 3. At this moment, two figures appeared. Looking at the spot where the two had just been, Xiaoyajun looked at Xingchen with an apologetic expression, only to see that Xingchen showed no tension at all, and his eyes were full of playful mockery. The three immortal emperor powerhouses had already formed a triangular formation surrounding the two. After clearly seeing their appearances, joy involuntarily appeared on the faces of the three. The immortal emperor powerhouse, who was called the boss, couldn't help but burst into laughter, saying, "Ha ha 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 ha, this truly came effortlessly. I never expected Palace Master Xiao to be hiding here. It seems this is truly fate. Does Palace Master Xiao plan to voluntarily return to Tianwu Pavilion with us three brothers, or should we three brothers invite Palace Master Xiao back?" Hearing the words of that immortal emperor powerhouse, Xiaoyajun's willow-like brows furrowed slightly. If she hadn't been injured, although she couldn't defeat three immortal emperor powerhouses if she wanted to leave, these three would definitely not be able to stop her. Now that her injuries had not fully recovered, plus there was a burden beside her, it seemed impossible to leave. Looking at the calm man, a trace of guilt actually rose in Xiaoyajun's heart. She glanced at Xingchen and surprisingly said softly, "This time, this emperor has implicated you. In the current situation, this emperor cannot protect you." As if having made a decision, she turned her head to look at the three and said, "This person has nothing to do with this matter. Let this person leave, and this emperor will go with you." Xiaoyajun had already planned that once the man left, she would fight to the death. If it came to it, even if she had to enter Avicii hell, she would never go with them. At this moment, the three seemed to notice Xingchen. Looking at the ill-fitting male clothing on Xiaoyajun, they all frowned slightly. Then, the boss's voice rang out. "Palace Master Zhao's injuries have not fully recovered, and this child also knows the secret of Tianwu Pavilion. We are afraid that Purple Firmament Palace will find out this secret and retaliate against Tianwu Pavilion, and the only ones who won't leak secrets are dead men. Today, this child must die, and Palace Master Xiao will probably have to come with us. As soon as the boss finished speaking, 3 terrifying auras surged forth, vaguely surrounding the two, preventing Xiao Yajun from escaping. Looking at the scene before her, a trace of helplessness appeared on Xiao Yajun's face. She looked at Xingchen and transmitted her voice. I will hold off the 3 of them in a moment. You escape on your own. Although I cannot discern your cultivation, I imagine that being able to enter the depths of endless forest, your strength won't be too low. Whether you can escape depends on your fortune. You already know this emperor's origin, your name. Never mind. As soon as Xiao Yajun finished speaking, she flashed and headed towards Avicii Hell. When the 3 discovered Xiao Yajun's intention, they immediately chased after her. The Immortal Emperor powerhouse ranked 3rd directly blasted a palm towards Xingchen, then chased after Xiao Yajun without looking back. In his heart, a palm strike from an Immortal Emperor realm powerhouse like himself was definitely something Xingchen couldn't withstand. However, he didn't notice that the terrifying palm he struck, before it even entered 3 meters of Xingchen's full range, mysteriously dissipated, not even raising a speck of dust. Looking at the 4 vanished figures, Xiao Yajun intended to use herself as bait to save him. Recalling the desolate and sorrowful look in Xiao Yajun's eyes, Xingchen couldn't help but frown slightly, feeling extremely displeased, as if something that belonged to him was about to be snatched away by others. He took a step, and his figure disappeared. Within this short period, the 3 Immortal Emperor powerhouses had already caught up to Xiao Yajun and surrounded her. At this moment, Xiao Yajun's mouth was bleeding, clearly indicating she had suffered severe injuries again in this short time. Second brother, third brother, just in case, don't hold back. Directly capture her and seal her cultivation. When we bring her before Old Ancestor, it'll be a great achievement for us. The Immortal Emperor powerhouse, who was called the boss, said to Xiao Yajun. Hearing his words, Xiao Yajun glanced into the distance. As if seeing through Xiao Yajun's thoughts, the 3rd brother chuckled and said, No need to look. That man just now, this emperor already sent him to hell with a palm strike. Hearing the 3rd brother's words, Xiao Yajun looked at the clothes she was wearing, and her aura instantly erupted, her eyes filled with killing intent. Xiao Yajun herself didn't know why she was so furious, directly punching out, striking towards the 3. That man who looked at her, dressed her, and roasted meat for her, had actually left such a deep impression in her heart. In fact, Xiao Yajun didn't know that she possessed the Xian Yin Phoenix body, which naturally had a sense of intimacy towards the great Tao Chaos body. Because of this, within such a short time, Xingchen had left such a deep impression in Xiao Yajun's heart. Seeing Xiao Yajun's erupting killing intent and the terrifying palm strike heading towards them, the 3 also frowned slightly. This woman was probably going all out. She must have known she couldn't escape and wanted to fight to the death. The 3 immediately formed hand seals and simultaneously struck out with a palm, pressing down towards Xiao Yajun. This palm instantly transformed into dozens of feet in size, clashing with Xiao Yajun's killing intent-filled punch. With a loud boom, a powerful energy erupted. The collision of the 4 powerful moves, like an atomic bomb, generated terrifying energy that caused spiderweb-like cracks to appear in the surrounding space, spreading in all directions. At this moment, the 4 figures simultaneously retreated at high speed. The 3 Immortal Emperor powerhouses showed no change in expression, but Xiao Yajun's face turned pale, and she spat out another mouthful of blood, clearly indicating her injuries were even more severe. After all, even a powerful Immortal Emperor is no match for 3 Immortal Emperors, especially since Xiao Yajun's injuries had not yet recovered. Xiao Yajun, retreating rapidly, turned her head, identified the direction, and directly used this backward momentum to rush towards Avicii Hell. However, all of this seemed to have been seen through by the 3, as the direction of Avicii Hell had already been blocked by the Immortal Emperor powerhouse ranked 3rd. Looking at the person in front, Xiao Yajun not only didn't stop but accelerated towards that Immortal Emperor powerhouse. At the same time, a red glow flashed in her hand, and an immortal sword radiating red divine light appeared in Xiao Yajun's grasp. With the immortal sword in hand, Xiao Yajun's entire aura underwent a tremendous change. At this moment, Xiao Yajun, radiating red divine light all over, was like a phoenix reborn from fire. She thrust out a sword, carrying an indomitable aura, transforming into a true phoenix covered in red flames, suppressing the 3rd brother. Sword dance 9 heavens. Seeing Xiao Yajun's terrifying strike, the 3rd Immortal Emperor powerhouse dared not be careless. A pitch-black great saber was instantly gripped in his hands, and a terrifyingly powerful evil intent radiated out, transforming into a black giant dragon, meeting Xiao Yajun's flaming true phoenix. Black dragon roar of annihilation. The next moment, the two's moves collided, forming a massive energy storm. Their figures also separated at first contact. The third immortal emperor powerhouse merely had a pale face, without much serious harm. However, Xiaojun's blood splattered in the void realm, and after landing, she retreated several steps, blood continuously overflowing from her mouth. In the end, she couldn't hold back and spat out another mouthful of blood. This time, the divine light in Xiaojun's eyes grew dimmer and dimmer, her injuries becoming even more severe. Brothers, strike while the iron is hot. Xiaojun is already severely injured and can't hold on. Let's all three of us attack together and capture her. The immortal emperor powerhouse, who was called the boss, directly said to the other two. After speaking, he directly pounced toward Xiaojun. Suddenly, an incomparably domineering voice rang out, carrying a hint of killing intent, causing the three's expressions to change, and they were instantly startled. Chapter 85. Xingchen's Dominance. The great emperor expert appears. At this moment, the sudden voice made the three of them jump in shock, their faces instantly paling. You dare lay hands on young master's woman, truly tired of living. The voice was overwhelmingly domineering, laced with unmistakable killing intent. The trio paled and inwardly exclaimed. Such overbearing aura, such startling murderous intent. He actually claimed Xiaojun is his woman. Could he be from another hidden world power? Involuntarily, they halted, turning toward the direction of the voice. Xiaojun, her own face deathly pale, also frowned slightly. The voice was extremely familiar, yet daring to call her his woman, she too turned to look. A figure emerged from the void realm, wreathed in boundless divine radiance, sun, moon, and stars circling him, great Tao laws trailing his steps. It was as if steps formed beneath his feet. With each tread, a great Tao flower bloomed. The surrounding space subtly shifted with his appearance. Truly, one step and heaven and earth changed. Facing this terrifying sight, the three immortal emperors actually sensed an aura they had only ever felt from the Tianwu Pavilion's old ancestor. That dreadful pressure felt as though every footstep landed directly on their bodies. The three immortal emperors trembled, cold sweat pouring. The eldest of the immortal emperors stammered. This lowly one hails from the hidden world giant holy land power, Tianwu Pavilion elder, Gumochi. These two are my second and third brothers, Gumoping and Gumoshuan. May I ask who your excellency is? Gumochi now felt a pressure only the earth-old ancestor could equal. He hurriedly brought up Tianwu Pavilion, hoping to intimidate the newcomer. Yet as if he hadn't heard, the figure blazing with myriad pill light stepped up to Xiaojun's side and looked at her pale, blood-stained face. A horrific murderous intent rose, startling the Gu brothers. Could this terrifying figure really be Xiaojun's man? Why have we never heard of it? Could Purple Firmament Palace have secretly married into some hidden power? Seeing the gravely wounded Xiaojun, Xingchen couldn't fathom why he felt such fury. Killing intent surged uncontrollably. He took 10 drops of life-divine spring from the system space and offered them to her, speaking gently. Drink this. Your injuries will heal. Looking at the figure before her, Xiaojun felt a familiar warmth. When she met his eyes, she couldn't help blushing, gave a soft snort, and turned her head as though pouting at her lover. Humph. This empress won't drink. Hearing her, the good trio was stunned. Xiaojun actually knew this man. Realizing she'd recognized him, Xingchen dispersed the divine radiance and revealed his true face. At that instant, Gumochi and his brothers cried out, "It's you?" Ignoring them, Xingchen pressed the life-divine spring into Xiaojun's hand. When he clasped her jade hand, a faint blush crept over her once pale cheeks. Though she feigned annoyance, a quiet joy stirred within. Feeling his gaze still on her, Xiaojun's face reddened further, until Xingchen's voice sounded. "Xingchen, my name." Hearing him suddenly stated, she flushed even more. To hide her fluster, she lifted the flask and swallowed the life-divine spring. A rich life essence instantly swept through her, rapidly mending her wounds. Within moments, she was fully healed, and she sensed her lifespan had increased by at least 5 centuries. Just like the first time Xingchen had handed her 7-colored elk meat, she consumed it without hesitation, feeling no weariness whatsoever. This time was the same. She drank simply because he said to, never asking what it was. Now hearing Xingchen state his name, Gumochi's trio frowned and asked, "Demon Clan Emperor, Xingchen?" Fully recovered, Xiaojun wondered. Purple Firmament Palace rarely walked the divine wilderness continent. Only the coming great age had brought them out, and she paid little heed to worldly affairs. Hence she had never heard his name. Yet, unbeknownst to her, the Demon Clan Emperor's name had long spread among the various hidden world giant holy land powers. Seeing her color restored, Xingchen turned to Gumochi's group and said, "You dared injure this emperor's woman, truly seeking death." The moment he finished, a coy voice rang out. Who's your woman?" Now certain he was the demon clan emperor, the three exchanged glances. According to reports, he was merely an innate realm ant, albeit a mental energy-wielding ninth-rank alchemist. All the terrifying visions just now must have been conjured by his mental energy, while his true strength was negligible. Thinking themselves fooled, they raised hands to slap him dead. Yet to their horror, they found themselves immobile, as if frozen. With his utmost effort, Gumochi crushed a white bead, outwardly terrified but inwardly relieved. Xingchen, feigning deafness to Xiaoyajun's retort, noticed Gumochi's small maneuver, but likewise pretended otherwise, merely smiling as he looked at Gumochi. That white bead was a distress signal, wasn't it? Since you no longer have value, this emperor sees no need to keep you alive. The instant his words fell, he slowly lifted a finger. Terrifying sword intent coiled around it, about to strike. Suddenly the heavens above endless forest quaked. The void realm twisted, and a dreadful pressure descended as a majestic voice rang out. A mere ant dares attack a Qianwu pavilion elder. Who gave you such gall? Seeing this god, why do you not kneel? Sensing the terrifying pressure, Xiaoyajun knew the owner of the sky-blotting hand had arrived, a true great emperor expert. She now deeply regretted refusing the old ancestor's company when she set out. Otherwise, she would never have ended up in this plight. Yet the next scene left both her and Gumochi dumbfounded. Upon hearing the awe-inspiring voice from the void, Xingchen merely wore disdain and spoke with open mockery. A spent force clinging to life-extending drugs dares call himself a god. Even if you truly were a god, today this emperor shall slay a god. Chapter 86. Netherworld Swordfinger, Xingchen's Terror. At this moment, right after Xingchen finished speaking, a terrifying, domineering intent surged from within him. With his hands behind his back, the white-robed figure flapped wildly, causing heaven and earth to tremble and all things to bow in submission. In the twisting void realm, upon hearing Xingchen's words, the space suddenly quaked, its barriers shattering inch by inch, as though it had suffered the ultimate insult. The next instant, a sky-blotting giant hand appeared, spanning tens of thousands of li, carrying boundless divine power as it pressed down toward Xingchen. At the same time, an authoritative voice resounded. A tiny ant, a frog in a well. How could you ever have seen a god? You dare claim you'll slay a god? Laughable. First take this move of mine. Feeling the terrifying pressure exuded by that sky-blotting hand, Xiaoyajun's face changed drastically. Her eyes filled with worry as she looked at Xingchen. Such pressure could only come from a top-tier great emperor. If she herself faced that hand, she'd have no chance to flee unless she used her ultimate life-saving trump card. Watching the terrifying hand, Xiaoyajun nervously pulled an ancient-feeling black talisman from her storage ring, clutching it tightly, ready to save Xingchen at any moment. That black talisman was an emperor talisman, sealing a full-strength strike of a great emperor. She had obtained it at the site where that great emperor passed away. Right now, Xingchen looked calmly at the giant hand descending upon him, slowly raising his right hand. In an instant, terrifying Emperor Qi coiled around his fist, releasing a blazing golden divine radiance. The dreadful aura felt like an ancient heavenly emperor suppressing the 9 heavens and 10 earths, unrivaled, sweeping through the ages. It was the Emperor Path Divine fist awarded by the system. Glancing at the giant hand, Xingchen curved his lips and punched out to meet it. A thunderous boom rang out. When the Emperor Path Divine fist collided with the giant hand, space exploded and heaven and earth shook. The massive sonic blast made Xiaoyajun lift her hands to shield her ears. Gumochi and the other two were less fortunate. Their cultivation sealed by Xingchen, they could not resist. The sonic blast struck them, blood flowing from their ears as they cut sorry figures. Arg! Damn it! This emperor's hand! A pained scream echoed through the upper void realm. Under Xingchen's simple punch, the terrifying sky-blotting hand began to fracture, rapidly retracting into the twisting space as though it had encountered something horrifying. Before Xiaoyajun and the others could gasp, they heard Xingchen's overwhelmingly domineering voice. Too late to run. This emperor said today, I'll butcher this false god and show you who the real frog in the well is. The moment his words fell, he raised his hand in a sword finger and thrust it forward. Immediately, a will that made all beings submit descended. Endless sword intent poured into the twisting space, provoking a terrified cry from within. What? Impossible. You can actually chase this emperor's position through the spatial passage. How? Behind Xingchen, an awe-inspiring colossal figure appeared. As his sword finger jabbed out, That huge figure mirrored the motion. That finger carried sword intent, able to cleave all, and a domineering will to suppress the Tao itself, stabbing into the twisting space. It was the system-rewarded netherworld sword finger. Behind Xingchen, that awe-inspiring figure was none other than the legendary king of the netherworld. Suddenly, a terrified voice rang out from the twisting space, distant, as though crossing the river of time. Impossible, who are you? To lock onto this emperor across such a distance. Who exactly are you? Spare me, senior, spare me. This lowly one was wrong. Arg, I hate this. The terrified voice abruptly cut off. Xingchen lowered his sword finger, and behind him, that figure commanding universal submission slowly faded. Xiaoyajun and the others stared at the white-robed figure, eyes wide, mouths agape, throats bobbing as they swallowed repeatedly, utterly shocked. At this moment, Xingchen stood there serenely, his white clothes peerless, like a deity. Suddenly, the entire divine wilderness continent quaked. The sky turned blood-red, bolts of divine lightning roared as though the heavenly Tao itself were reopening, waves of sorrow sweeping across the land. The next instant, a rain of blood poured down. The heavenly Tao wept blood. Every inhabitant of the divine wilderness who saw this was shocked. Countless old ancestors hidden within various forces broke their seals, emerged, and cried out in alarm at the terrifying sight. An emperor has fallen. Who? Which mighty great emperor perished to make the heavens rain blood and the heavenly Tao weep? Dispatch someone to investigate at once. Scenes like this played out in every major power across the divine wilderness continent. Meanwhile, the hidden world, giant holy land, Tianwu Pavilion, was in an uproar. The entire pavilion had descended into chaos. Moments ago, in the ancestral land of Tianwu Pavilion, a finger that reached the sky descended from the void realm, carrying boundless sword intent, and instantly slew one of their great emperor realm old ancestors. That old ancestor had no chance to resist. Even his divine soul was obliterated. This scene terrified every member of Tianwu Pavilion. They were a hidden world, giant holy land force. Yet a great emperor old ancestor had been killed with a single finger. What terrifying being had the Tianwu Pavilion emperor offended? At the same time, the news spread like wildfire through every hidden world, giant holy land, shaking all reclusive powers. For a great emperor to be slain without resistance by a single finger, there was only one possibility. The owner of that finger surpassed the great emperor realm. Realizing this, every hidden world, giant holy land fell silent, as if confronting a taboo, daring not to speak further. Yet little surprise showed in their eyes. It was as if they had long witnessed such terrifying experts capable of slaying a great emperor with one finger. The blood rain lasted a full hour before gradually stopping, and the sorrow, suffusing the divine wilderness continent, slowly faded. At this moment, Xingchen, clad in white and untainted by a speck of dust, turned calmly to look at the three Gomochi brothers, whose faces were etched with terror and couldn't be bothered with further words. He flicked a finger. A terrifying sword intent condensed into a golden stream of light that instantly wiped out the trio. A similar scene then unfolded in the sky above the endless forest. Heaven and earth quaked, the void realm wept blood, and an immortal emperor fell. Though not as cataclysmic as a great emperor's demise, it still made the entire endless forest tremble and bleed. These repeated events puzzled the experts hunting for treasure on the endless forest periphery. What was happening deep inside to cause immortal emperors to fall one after another? Had they all entered Avicii hell? Meanwhile, Xiaoyajun, staring at the unruffled Xingchen, slowly came back to her senses, retracted the black talisman in her hand, glanced at him, and suddenly didn't know what to say. The man before her had completely upended her once calm heart. At this moment, Xingchen's domineering aura vanished entirely, and he reverted to his gentle, jade-like demeanor. He looked up at Xiaoyajun and found her gazing at him intently, lost in thought. When she noticed his gaze, Xiaoyajun gave a soft hum, turned away, and said, "I've been out too long. Thank you. I must return." For some reason, she felt that calling herself this emperor distanced her from Xingchen and instinctively changed her form of address. His words stirred a fleeting sense of loss in Xingchen. He smiled faintly and said, "All right." Seeing he offered no further words, Xiaoyajun felt a pang of annoyance and turned to leave, only to hear Xingchen's voice ring out. "Here's some life, divine spring. Though your injuries have healed, drink a few drops daily to ensure a full recovery." As his words fell, a jade vial appeared before her. Looking at it, Xiaoyajun's fair face flushed. After glancing at Xingchen, she happily reached out and took it. The moment her fingers brushed his as she accepted the vial, both their hearts raced. An inexplicable affection blossomed between them. Feeling this emotion, Xiaoya Jun seemed to recall something. Her expression cooled at once. She gave Xingchen one last look and flew toward the endless forest periphery. Seeing her sudden change, Xingchen knew exactly what had crossed her mind. Smiling, he impulsively called after her. Hey, take care. By human race customs, you're now this emperor's woman. Flying through the air, Xiaoya Jun faltered when she heard this, glanced back in annoyance, and saw Xingchen smiling at her. After shooting him a fierce glare, she spun away and sped off, yet the slight upturn of her lips betrayed her delight. Chapter 87 Xiaoya Jun departs. Check in at the Bodhi Divine Tree. At this moment, Xingchen watched Xiaoya Jun, who had just glared at him, stride away, and an unexpected sense of accomplishment welled up inside him. Meanwhile, Xiaoya Jun, speeding toward the outer reaches of the endless forest, recalled Xingchen's words. The corners of her mouth curved involuntarily as she mused. If we truly followed human race customs, I would already be his woman. At the thought, a blush flooded her exquisite face. She landed lightly on a huge branch, turned, and gazed back into the depths of the endless forest. Thinking of her physique, a shadow crossed her features. Over the years, innumerable prodigies from reclusive powers had pursued her, only to be refused. Xiaoya Jun could see the greed hidden in their eyes. Every one of them coveted her physique. Yet she sensed no such greed from Xingchen. In truth, with his terrifying strength, he could easily have taken advantage while she lay unconscious. But that smiling man had done nothing of the sort. Instead, he clothed her and treated her wounds. Glancing at the ill-fitting garments, she flushed, erected a barrier, and, when it dropped, stood clad in a violet palace gown that lent her an air of gentle nobility. She carefully folded the old clothes and tucked them into her storage ring. She couldn't explain why Xingchen's aura made her long to draw closer. Yet, reminded again of her physique, she sighed softly toward the endless forest. If fate allows, we shall meet again. If not, her expression calmed. With a single step she vanished. Xingchen glanced at the vanished waterfall and the flattened mountain peak, then shook his head wryly. A sweep of divine sense carried him to a natural stone platform halfway up a towering peak, offering a perfect view of Avicii Hell's entrance wreathed in black mist. Strangely, the black vapor now billowed thicker, threaded with faint streaks of gold, visible only as night fell. Something abnormal was afoot, yet Xingchen merely lounged back. He still had business to finish today. He addressed the system aloud. System, start today's check-in. The moment he spoke, the system's melodious voice chimed. Ding, check-in in progress successful. Congratulations, host. Reward, Bodhi Divine Tree. The Bodhi Divine Tree, one of the 9 primordial divine trees, stand 100 zhang tall in a vast umbrella of dense branches inscribed with the 3,000 great Taos. Its fruit is golden, blossoms once every 10 millennia, fruits 10 millennia later. Each fruit bears a complete Tao law. Consumed, it grants instant enlightenment. Legend holds that beneath the Bodhi tree one may comprehend the divine Tao. Sitting beneath, it sharpens comprehension ability, greatly increasing the chance to grasp the 3,000 great Taos, and perhaps even the fabled divine Tao. Ding! Check-in successful. Congratulations, host. 10 Hiding God Talismans. The Hiding God Talisman, a primordial treasure of no fixed grade, forged from celestial divine stone. It can absorb any being's strongest strike and store it within. In danger, inject immortal spiritual chi to release the stored strike and slay foes. Each talisman is single-use, crumbling to dust afterward. Ding! Check-in successful. Congratulations, host. 1,000,000 bottles of supreme divine wine, already placed in system space. Lounging on the platform, Xingchen smiled as the sweet system notifications rang out. He rose and examined the miniature Bodhi divine tree in system space. It radiated dense Tao rhyme, every leaf sparkling, clearly a treasure beyond compare. To his surprise, a golden fruit hung amid its boughs, wrapped in a complete crimson law, most likely fire-related. This lone Bodhi divine fruit was priceless. If revealed, countless experts would fight to the death for it. After all, it offered instant mastery of a complete Tao law, something many failed to achieve in their entire lives. Plant the tree among the Yao race, and disciples could cultivate beneath it, boosting their chances of grasping the 3,000 great Taos, and perhaps the divine Tao itself, truly worthy of being counted among the 9 primordial divine trees. He turned to the hiding god talismans, even more pleased. He could store his strongest strike inside and give one to his wife. Against any foe, immortal emperor, great emperor, or even a heavenly emperor, a single activation would spell certain death. Blocked by some mysterious force, He had not achieved a breakthrough in cultivation for a long while. Yet thanks to his great Tao chaos body and chaos Taishian art, immortal spiritual qi poured into him ceaselessly. It refined every organ, every cell, forging his physical body into something terrifyingly mighty. He was confident that even a casual punch could topple a heavenly emperor. He only wondered whether any heavenly emperors still remained hidden within the divine wilderness continent. Night had fully fallen. The golden glints beneath Avicii Hell's entrance multiplied, as though some divine object were about to break free. He resolved to leave the endless forest tomorrow and head for Yin Emperor City. Entering Avicii Hell now might delay him indefinitely. Since he already knew its situation, he would reunite with his wife Luo Xingchen first. Once the great Yin dynasty's affairs concluded, he would probe Avicii Hell and uncover the secret of the ancient treasure map. Besides, he had promised Hua Shuyan to refine an antidote for Lu Ruosu's hellflower poison while in the great Yin dynasty, and he intended to keep his word. He refused to be a man who broke his promises. Scene shift. Within an opulent private room in Yin Emperor City, a stunning woman gazed down at the bustling street, her eyes full of expectation. Her flawless figure, mature bearing, and faintly furrowed brows combined into an intoxicating beauty. Chapter 88. Gathering in Yin Emperor City, terrifying killing intent. At that moment, the stunningly beautiful woman who exuded all kinds of charm suddenly opened her cherry-like mouth slightly, and a clear, cold voice sounded. "Aunt Lu, is there any news? Has the Demon Clan Emperor arrived?" As soon as the woman's voice fell, the space shook for a moment, and an old woman with white hair appeared in the room. It was actually Lu Ruosu, the Grand Elder of the Myriad Flowers Divine Palace. At this time, the death chi on Lu Ruosu's body had completely disappeared, and her body was no longer hunched. Although her hair was still white, her face looked much younger. One could already see from her face the stunning beauty of the old woman in her youth. Without guessing, one would know that the stunningly beautiful woman sitting by the window should be Hua Shuyan, the palace master of the Myriad Flowers Divine Palace. Looking at Hua Shuyan, a smile appeared on Lu Ruosu's face, and she replied, "Palace Master, the entire Yao race has not arrived at Yin Emperor City, and the Demon Clan Emperor has not come either. However, many disciples from the Hidden World Giant Holy Land forces have come a lot. These days, the entire Yin Emperor City has been spreading the news that these disciples from the Hidden World Giant Holy Land forces want to announce the emergence of the various hidden forces through this competition between young disciples held by the Great Yin Dynasty. Now, Flame Emperor Wudi has already opened the Shenwu Arena in the Imperial City. In these few days, many disciples from various forces have gone on stage to compete, but no disciple from the hidden forces has gone down. I think it's because the cultivation of these major forces disciples is too low, and they're not interested." Hearing Lu Ruosu's words, Hua Shuyan asked, "Aunt Lu, do you know which hidden forces have arrived?" Qin Hao Yin, the saint of the hidden Qin family, Su Linger, the goddess of the hidden Su family, Tianwu Pavilion, Shunji Mountain, 10,000 Beast Valley, Sword Sect, Blade Pavilion, and other hidden families have all arrived. There must be some hidden families that have not shown up yet. The various top forces of the other divine wilderness continent have also basically arrived. Now, only the Yao race and Shanqing Palace, these two major forces, have not yet arrived. Hearing Lu Ruosu's words, Hua Shuyan nodded slightly and stopped talking. Lu Ruosu glanced at Hua Shuyan again, and with a flash of her figure, disappeared. At this moment, a white-robed figure slowly emerged in Hua Shuyan's mind, and the corners of her mouth couldn't help but curl up slightly, her eyes full of longing. The scene changes to the depths of the endless forest. Xingchen, standing on the platform, glanced at the entrance of Avicii Hell again, stopped lingering, and with one step his figure disappeared. Early the next morning, Xingchen stepped out of the teleportation formation and arrived at Yin Emperor City. Looking at Yin Emperor City, which was even more lively than Shenlong City, Xingchen couldn't help but sigh. As expected of the capital of the Great Yin Dynasty, the immortal spiritual qi was even more concentrated, and various shops were lined up, making it even more prosperous. Suddenly, a burly man, wearing silver armor, came to Xingchen and bowed to Xingchen, saying, "Greetings, Emperor Yi of the Yao race. I am Hua Wuming, a general of the Great Yin Dynasty. I am here to welcome Emperor Yi under the Flame Emperor's decree, to lead the way for Emperor Yi and arrange the residence for the Yao race." Looking at the unyielding man in front of him, Xingchen said, "Thank you, General Hua. May I ask, General Hua, have all the major forces arrived?" Hearing Xingchen's words, Hua Wuming said in a deep voice, "Emperor Yi, all the major forces of the Divine Wilderness have basically arrived, and the disciples of the Hidden World Giant Holy Land forces have also arrived. Now, except for the Yao race and Xingchen Palace, they have basically all arrived. Hearing Huo Wuming's words, Xingchen nodded slightly. Just as he was about to speak, several exclamations came from the teleportation formation. Hearing the sound, Xingchen couldn't help but smile slightly and turn to look back. Look quickly. That group of people should be from the Yao race. The leading woman has a peerless appearance, with a hint of majesty in her nobility. She should be the Demon Empress. A strong man from Yin Emperor City looked at the group of people walking out of the teleportation formation and said, "That's right, it is indeed the Demon Empress, the youngest prodigy of the Yao race in millions of years. She is already an immortal Emperor realm expert at a young age. I once saw her in Wandan Pavilion. There is no mistake." A middle-aged man next to him looked at the stunningly beautiful woman at the head and said. At this time, as if telepathically, Luo Qingshan turned her head to look in Xingchen's direction. When she saw her husband, whom she had been longing for day and night, Luo Qingshan's face revealed excitement. If the occasion wasn't right, Luo Qingshan couldn't help but rush into Xingchen's arms to relieve the pain of lovesickness. Luo Qingshan led the Yao race crowd and came to Xingchen with a smile on her face. Xikong Guiyao and others behind her looked at Xingchen with admiration in their eyes. Looking at Luo Qingshan's tender eyes, Xingchen smiled slightly. As if knowing what Luo Qingshan was thinking, he gently reached out and tucked Luo Qingshan's hair behind her ear. Then he gently hugged Luo Qingshan in his arms, completely disregarding the shocked eyes of the people around him. At this moment, the Yao race people, seeing the emperor gently hugging the Demon Empress in his arms, all smiled slightly. The strong men around who had not been to Wandan Pavilion couldn't help but be shocked and exclaimed, did you see that? That man in white robes actually dared to hug the Demon Empress in front of so many people. He is simply a role model for us." Hearing this person's voice, some of the strong men who had been to Wandan Pavilion looked at the man with disdain and said, "Don't talk nonsense if you don't know. That man in white robes is Xingchen, the Demon Clan Emperor. It is only natural for him to hug his wife." At this moment, Luo Qingshan was embraced by her husband. Her stunning face instantly flushed red. She greedily breathed in the familiar scent on her husband's body, and then she stood up with a shy face, glared at Xingchen charmingly, and said softly, "Husband, did you just arrive too?" Looking at Luo Qingshan's shy face, Xingchen nodded slightly, then glanced at Xikong Guiyao and others behind her, and nodded with satisfaction after discovering that they had all breakthrough. Xikong Guiyao and others, seeing the emperor nodding at them, all showed excitement. After they became familiar with the Yao race these past 2 days, they understood why the emperor was so popular, not to mention anything else. The story of repelling the heavenly tribulation with a single word alone was enough for them to be in awe. Then Xingchen took Luo Qingshan's hand and came to Huo Wuming and said, "Please trouble General Hua to lead the way." Hearing Xingchen's words, Huo Wuming bowed to Luo Qingshan, then turned around and was about to take Xingchen and the others to the residence prepared by the great Yin dynasty for the Yao race people. However, at this moment, an untimely voice rang out. I didn't expect the Demon Empress to be so stunning. I wonder if I can invite the Demon Empress to have a drink with this holy sun." Hearing this voice, the surroundings instantly became silent. Everyone widened their eyes and looked in disbelief in the direction of the voice. At this moment, a black-clothed man was standing there with a wicked smile on his face, constantly sizing Luo Qingshan up and down with his eyes, without any scruples. The voice just now came from the mouth of this black-clothed man. Looking at the black-clothed man's unscrupulous eyes, coupled with the words just now, it was simply a blatant slap in the face. How could the dignified Demon Empress be commented on at will? And with such unscrupulous eyes, it was simply not taking the Yao race seriously. At this moment, hearing the words of the black-clothed man, Luo Qingshan frowned slightly. Xikong Guiyao and others behind her glared at the black-clothed man. Just as they were about to take action, they found that the surrounding temperature suddenly dropped. A terrifying killing intent emanated from the emperor's body, sweeping in all directions. The next moment, a scene that made everyone's hearts palpitate appeared. Chapter 89. A shocking act, shaking Yin Emperor City. At this moment, feeling that terrifying killing intent, everyone around turned pale with fright. None had imagined that the Demon Clan Emperor could erupt with such dreadful, murderous aura. It was as though an evil god had walked out from mountains of corpses and seas of blood, its murderous aura boiling, causing the entire Yin Emperor City to sense it. Countless experts were appalled. Many weaker bystanders were directly stunned unconscious by that horrific killing intent. The black-clothed man, however, wore a wicked grin, though the cold sweat dripping from his forehead betrayed that he was far from calm. Suddenly, a white-haired old man appeared in front of him, the overwhelming aura of a peak immortal emperor realm expert bursting forth. Watching the white-robed man slowly turn around, his eyes were filled with caution. Luo Qingshan, standing nearby, was also shocked by Yi Xingchen's terrifying killing intent. She hadn't expected her usually unflustered husband to release such dreadful murderous aura. She hastily called out, "Husband!" Hearing Luo Qingshan, the dreadful killing intent on Yi Xingchen vanished instantly. He turned to her and smiled tenderly. "My dear, I'm fine. No need to worry. Once I swat this annoying fly to death, we'll head back to our quarters." The instant his words fell, before anyone could react, Yi Xingchen's figure flickered. When he reappeared, a startling scene unfolded. At this moment, Yi Xingchen's right hand gripped the black-clothed man's neck, lifting him up as casually as one would a dead dog. The black-clothed man let out a hoarse, "Ah," as his body trembled uncontrollably. The smile vanished from his face, replaced by sheer terror. Countless experts in the vicinity gasped inwardly. Such speed. The white-haired old man, a peak immortal emperor, stared in disbelief. But seeing the black-clothed man's agony, he immediately spoke gravely. "Demon Clan Emperor, quell your wrath. We are from the hidden Qin family. The man in your hand is our family's current saint." He misspoke just now. "This old man offers the saint's apology to the Demon Empress and your excellency." The white-haired old man was none other than Qin Bo, Qin Haoyan's guardian. Thus the black-clothed man's identity was obvious. The Qin family saint, Qin Haoyan. Right then, Qin Bo bowed toward Luo Qingshan and Yi Xingchen, prompting gasps from the crowd. An immortal emperor had openly bowed, giving the Yao race tremendous face. Luo Qingshan frowned slightly upon hearing hidden Qin family, turning to Yi Xingchen, only to find him perfectly calm. After listening to Qin Bo, Yi Xingchen spoke serenely. "Old man, the Qin family can't intimidate this emperor. Since an immortal emperor has apologized today, this emperor won't pursue the matter further. However, this boy bears an evil air. He will surely bring disaster in the future. The Qin family must discipline him better. Otherwise, when he meets a ruthless one, keeping his life will be uncertain. Still, death may be spared, but punishment cannot. To prevent him from harming others again, why not?" He left his sentence unfinished, merely glancing at Qin Haoyan's legs. Seeing that, Qin Haoyan's eyes bulged. He struggled frantically, true terror finally surfacing. This time he was genuinely frightened. Yet no matter how he struggled, it was useless. His body seemed nailed in place, neck firmly clamped by Yi Xingchen, unable to break free in the slightest. The surrounding onlookers couldn't help clenching their legs, looking at Yi Xingchen with shock and silently thinking, "The so-called ruthless? This Demon Clan Emperor is the real deal." Qin Bo, hearing Yi Xingchen's implication, immediately protested. "Emperor Yi, this old man has already apologized to the Empress. Killing is but a head to the ground. Your method is crueler than death itself." Listening to Qin Bo and noting the crowd's reaction, Yi Xingchen laughed, his gaze toward Qin Haoyan full of mockery as he said, "The boy insulted the Demon Empress. An apology alone suffices? If we don't make an example today, any random cat or dog will dare insult her majesty and the Yao race. Today this emperor will spare his life. For your sake, old man, his crime of disrespect merits only his legs. Am I being excessive?" Hearing this, everyone's mouth twitched. The Demon Clan Emperor must not be provoked. They looked sympathetically at the Qin saint. Though alive, he'd nearly been scared to death. Without waiting for reaction, Yi Xingchen raised his left hand and pointed at Qin Haoyan's legs. "Aya!" A miserable scream followed. Yi Xingchen had directly shattered Qin Haoyan's legs into a bloody pulp. That horrific cry startled everyone. Qin Bo, unprepared, wanted to intervene, but Yi Xingchen had already flung Qin Haoyan over like a dead dog. Catching him and glancing at the mangled legs, Qin Bo finally exhaled. He promptly produced a golden medicinal pill and fed it to Qin Haoyan, stopping his screams. Moments later, Qin Haoyan's legs regenerated at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, his legs were whole again. Standing up, he glared at Yi Xingchen with undisguised killing intent. After a final glance at Luo Qingshan, he vanished. Qin Bo, about to leave, paused as Yi Xingchen's voice rang out. "Go back and tell the Qin family head to discipline the boy properly. If he offends this emperor again, I'll slay him without courtesy, Qin family or not." As his words ended, a towering killing intent surged outward like great waves, astounding everyone. How many had the Demon Clan Emperor slain to possess such murderous aura? Hearing Yi Xingchen and feeling that killing intent, Qin Bo gave him a deep look, then turned and disappeared without a word. At this moment, the surrounding experts regarded Xingchen with dread. This was their first time seeing such overbearing dominance from the Demon Clan Emperor. It wouldn't be long before the news spread throughout Yin Emperor City. Having lost such face, the Qin family would surely seek to recover it from the Yao race. Yin Emperor City was in for a good show. Many ordinary onlookers were stunned to see that after a single golden medicinal pill, Qin Haoyan's shattered legs had fully restored in mere moments. An elder from a top power, seeing their shock, showed off aloud. Never seen that before? No big deal. The Qin family is a hidden family famed for pills. Such instant limb regeneration elixirs are rarities to you, but to the Qin, they're commonplace. The ordinary listeners suddenly saw the light and nodded in understanding. Only then did Xingchen take Luo Qingshan's hand, reverting to his gentle jade demeanor. Smiling tenderly at her, he turned to Huo Wuming and said, "General Hua, please show us to our lodgings." Only now did Huo Wuming come back to his senses. He feared further incidents that would leave the great Yin dynasty caught in the middle. He promptly led Xingchen's group toward the imperial palace quarters prepared for the Yao race. News that the Demon Clan Emperor had shattered the hidden Qin family, Saint's legs flew on wings throughout Yin Emperor City in no time. Chapter 90. Super Reward, Ancient Emperor Pill. At this moment, the Demon Clan Emperor's news that the Qin family's holy son Qin Haoyan had his legs shattered spread through Yin Emperor City like wings, reaching every corner in a short time. When the various forces heard the news, their reactions were mixed, though most seemed eager to watch the drama unfold. Inside the imperial city, a lavishly decorated courtyard was prepared by the great Yin dynasty for the Qin family. In the study, Qin Haoyan's two faces were almost twisted together, and the noble aura of sweeping mountains and gazing over the world had completely vanished from him. Instead, his whole body trembled, his eyes filled with fiery anger, and he shouted toward Qin Bo on one side. "Qin Bo, have you notified father?" Hearing Qin Haoyan's words, Qin Bo replied, "Returning holy son, I have already informed the clan chief. At most by tomorrow, the Qin family's strongmen will arrive." "Very well, very well, very well. This holy son will endure for one night." "Humph. How dare you disrespect the Qin family? I will let you all know the consequences of offending the Qin family." Hearing Qin Bo's words, Qin Haoyan let out a wicked laugh, recalling Luo Qingshan's exquisite figure. A smile curled at his mouth, his eyes blazed, and he thought to himself, "The woman I set my sights on has never been out of reach, even if she is the Demon Empress. She is merely the ruler of a top-level power, unaware of the true terror of the hidden world giant Holy Land. Tomorrow, this holy sun will show you how powerful the hidden Qin family truly is. A bunch of pond frogs cannot comprehend the vastness of heaven and earth." Meanwhile, in a courtyard where myriad flowers bloomed, Huaxian sat by the window, her brows slightly furrowed as she listened to Lu Ruosu's report. "Your Highness, the situation is as follows." The Demon Clan Emperor, upon hearing that the Demon Empress was being teased, unleashed a earth-shattering murderous intent. The murderous aura you just felt came from the Demon Clan Emperor himself. I never expected the Demon Clan Emperor could emit such terrifying murderous intent. It seems I was too arrogant. A man coveted by the Demon Empress cannot be so simple. Hearing Lu Ruosu's words, Huaxian spoke up. "This great Yin dynasty's competition among the younger disciples will surely not be peaceful. Aunt Lu, accompany the Emperor to visit the Demon Clan's residence later. The auction of the great Yin dynasty is the day after tomorrow. I think the auction will be a sham, but the contests among the disciples of the major forces will be spectacular. Those hidden powers will, through this contest, trample the faces of the top-level forces of the divine wilderness and announce their emergence." As soon as the words fell, a disciple from the Myriad Flowers Divine Palace entered to report that the Yin Emperor, for the upcoming auction and disciple contests, had summoned Huaxian to the Yin Emperor's palace to discuss numerous matters. The scene shifts to the courtyard where the Demon Clan resides. After everything was arranged, Luo Qingshan, who had been flirting with Xingchen, was also summoned to the Yin Emperor's palace, while Xingchen, who dislikes such affairs, stayed behind. Looking out the window, Xingchen felt a sudden fondness for the Demon Clan's Phoenix Perch Palace. Remembering that he hadn't signed in today and having nothing else to do, Xingchen spoke to the system. "System, begin today's sign-in." Ding. System is signing in now. Sign in successful. Congratulations, host. You have received a super reward. 1 Ancient Emperor Pill. The Ancient Emperor Pill, a great Tao-grade pill, is an ancient supreme existence that gathers myriad divine medicines, infuses chaos chi, is refined for 91 years, and forged through countless Tao-level thunderflame, ley hammerings. On the day the pill is formed, sweet rain descends from the heavens, golden lotus blooms from the earth, and countless anomalies occur. Only the host may consume it. After consumption, it can break one's shackles, break limits, and become a true emperor who suppresses eternity, entering the ancient emperor realm. Hearing the system's voice, Xingchen was slightly stunned. He had actually obtained a super reward, and it was the ancient emperor pill. Reading the pill's description, excitement flashed in Xingchen's eyes. His speculation was correct. The divine wilderness continent indeed hides many secrets. He had thought the heavenly emperor realm was the strongest existence in this world. But the system's super reward revealed that the ancient emperor realm on the divine wilderness continent is still not the limit. With a slight smile, Xingchen thought to himself, "It's getting more interesting, truly more challenging." This sign-in granted a super reward, yet the system only gave him one ancient emperor pill. It seems these super rewards only grant a single item, but Xingchen was more than satisfied. He took the ancient emperor pill out of the system's space, gazing at its radiant glow, sparkling like countless stars. Even through the system's barrier, Xingchen could feel a terrifying energy emanating from the pill. No wonder one must be at the heavenly emperor realm to ingest it. Sensing this terrifying energy, Xingchen knew that anyone below the heavenly emperor realm who took it would likely be blown apart by the sheer force. Without further hesitation, Xingchen swallowed the radiant ancient emperor pill. The next moment, his face flushed as an unparalleled energy exploded inside him. If he did not possess the great Tao chaos body, the sole divine body of eternity, even this single burst would have ripped him apart. Now the chaos Taishian art inside, Xingchen surged wildly, his meridians continuously shattered by the terrifying energy and then rapidly restored, repeatedly causing him to break out in cold sweat. Even with his heavenly emperor realm strength, he could not help trembling. His complexion flickered between red and white, but after the time it takes for an incense stick to burn out, his meridians fully withstood the terrifying energy. Deep within his sea of consciousness, the heavenly emperor divine infant began to change. The alchemy, true explanation in his right hand, radiating life force, and the soar domain in his left hand, radiating death, started to fuse. Moments later, the heavenly emperor divine infant clasped both hands, golden light blazing all over, and several order divine chains appeared above it, tightly binding the divine infant. With the terrifying energy flowing in, a dazzling divine halo emerged behind the divine infant, though the halo was slightly hazy. The fused alchemy, true explanation, and soar domain entered the divine halo behind Xingchen, emitting endless divine radiance. As the halo solidified, the order divine chains on the divine infant began to break, accelerating until they shattered completely, after which the chains were fully absorbed by the halo. At this moment, Xingchen felt as if a blessed spirit had awakened. The shackles that constantly hindered his breakthroughs were instantly shattered. In his mind, the divine infant, hands clasped, wore a solemn expression. Behind the halo, countless ancient divine beast phantoms swirled, exuding endless pressure. Xingchen now floated, seated, with a golden divine halo slowly materializing behind him, radiating boundless majesty, making him appear like an ancient deity worthy of reverent worship. He had broken his own shackles and successfully break through to the ancient emperor realm. This realm is the sole one of its kind on the divine wilderness continent. Of course, the hidden forces have no idea about it. Moments later, the divine halo behind Xingchen vanished, and the overwhelming majesty surrounding him gradually faded. He slowly settled back into his chair, opened his eyes, and 9-colored lights swirled within them, as if it could pierce all things, making 10,000 Tao tremble, yet also like a spring breeze reviving all life. He closed his eyes again. When he opened them a second time, the terrifying vision had disappeared. He stood up, feeling a power dozens of times stronger than the heavenly emperor realm coursing through his body. Xingchen knew he had finally broken his shackles and breakthrough to the ancient emperor realm. At the same time, from the depths of destiny, he sensed a faint summons. It seemed as if a brand new world was beckoning him. Chapter 91. A summons from the depths of the starry sky, the arrogant Qin family. At this moment, Xingchen, who had fully broken through, walked to the window. Sensing that faint summons in the dark, he lifted his gaze to the boundless starry sky. The call originated from its deepest reaches. He didn't dwell on it. A vague intuition stirred within him. Legend said that after the ancient war between immortals and demons, many mighty experts vanished without a trace. Where did those experts go? Could it be connected to that distant stellar summons? Xingchen couldn't be certain. Or was there some unavoidable reason that caused all those mighty beings to disappear together? One example etched deepest in Xingchen's memory was the Lily Empress, a powerhouse who reached the great emperor realm in under 2 centuries, the only one who knew the secret of the heavenly Tao treasure trove and possessed the Lily Azure treasure seal, its key. Yet when she disappeared, why did the seal remain in the divine wilderness continent? All these questions fueled Xingchen's growing curiosity. With his current strength, Xingchen could faintly perceive a sliver of opportunity in the dark. Just like now, across the entire divine wilderness continent, immortal spiritual qi was growing richer, and prodigies, saint physiques, divine physiques, secret realms, and forbidden lands were appearing in endless succession. It was exactly as Su Longshao of the hidden Su family had said, a great era was approaching. Xingchen knew the hidden families must know something, Su Longshao included. Otherwise, why would the hidden world giant Holy Land forces choose to emerge now, rather than a century or millennium earlier or later? Such secrets weren't necessarily clear, even to disciples or ordinary elders of those colossal powers. Only the core figures might know, and even they grasped merely fragments. Standing by the window, mind racing, Xingchen resolved to pay closer attention to the movements of the hidden world giant Holy Land forces. It was nearly evening before Luo Qingshan returned to the residence. Seeing Xingchen still at the window, she smiled tenderly and softly called, "Husband, what are you pondering so deeply?" Her voice drew Xingchen back. He turned to see the gentle Luo Qingshan and realized the sky had already darkened. He shook his head slightly. He'd been lost in thought and hadn't noticed nightfall. Walking over, he gently took her hand, eyes full of affection yet wearing a mischievous grin as he said, "I was thinking of my wife. A few days apart, and I missed you terribly." Seeing his teasing smile, Luo Qingshan blushed crimson, gave him a coy glance, and softly replied, "Let's go down. Xikong Guyao and the others are waiting. They're thrilled at the thought of dining with you." Nodding, Xingchen led Luo Qingshan gently down to the living room. When Xikong Guyao and the rest saw them arrive, they fell silent at once, rose from their chairs, and gazed at Xingchen in excitement. Today had been an eye-opener. They finally knew how terrifying their mysterious demon clan emperor was. That dreadful killing intent hadn't even targeted them, yet it raised every hair and chilled their backs. Had it been aimed at them, not one among the 10 would have dared face Xingchen. Such was the pressure of his aura. Seeing their excitement, Xingchen smiled and told everyone to sit and relax. Only then did the 10 Yao race prodigies sit, faces alight with excitement, and Luo Qingshan spoke up, "Tomorrow you may rest. The great Yin dynasty has canceled the auction. The day after, the inter-sect disciple tournaments begin. With the cultivation enhancement pills bestowed by the emperor, your strength no longer worries me. But caution never hurts. This empress intends all powers of the divine wilderness to know. Today the Yao race stands as a super force equal to any hidden world giant Holy Land. Understood?" Hearing her words, the 10 solemnly nodded in agreement. Seeing the eager anticipation in their eyes, Xingchen glanced questioningly at Luo Qingshan, who stifled a laugh and gently explained, "Ever since they tasted the supreme divine wine, they've looked forward to seeing you every day." Xingchen gave a helpless chuckle, and with a wave of his hand, a dozen bottles of supreme divine wine appeared before them. Feng Meng sprang up in excitement. Ever since tasting the wine, ordinary drink had lost all appeal. Seeing so many bottles, how could he stay calm? Xingchen motioned for him to sit, and said, "The wine is potent, don't overdo it. But since tomorrow's free, drink to your heart's content tonight." At those words, Xikong Guyao and the others cheered in gratitude, while Luo Qingshan gazed at Xingchen with ever softer affection. Next morning, after days apart, the longing Xingchen and Luo Qingshan had overslept following their excited night. They were still deep in slumber when Xikong Guyao's urgent voice sounded outside, reporting to the Empress and Emperor. "Qin family members are outside shouting, demanding you come out and apologize to their saint, or the Qin family won't be polite." Xingchen and Luo Qingshan exchanged glances. She blushed at his roguish smile, remembering the night before, and shyly murmured, "Let's rise, husband. The Qin family really is annoying." Xingchen's lips curled slightly. Indeed, unless they feel some pain, they'll never learn. After dressing and tidying up, they walked out of the courtyard. Several great Yin dynasty immortal emperors already barred the entrance, led by a crimson-haired elder who calmly asked, "I am Yin Zhan of the great Yin dynasty. What is the meaning of this Qin family?" Although the Qin family ranked among the hidden world giant holy lands, such a commotion forced the great Yin dynasty to intervene. From a Qin group, a pale, middle-aged man stepped forward, glanced at Xingchen and arrogantly declared, "This has nothing to do with the great Yin dynasty. I'm here regarding the Yao race, a mere top power of the divine wilderness, who dared disrespect the hidden Qin family. If they don't give a proper account today, they won't be leaving." As his words fell, over a dozen immortal emperors appeared, their terrifying auras making Xingchen frown. Worthy of a hidden world giant holy land. More than 10 immortal emperors at a whim, already rivaling a top divine wilderness force. If mishandled, not only would the great Yin dynasty suffer, its reputation across the continent would plummet. After all, this youth tournament was hosted by them. While Xingchen hesitated, a languid yet calm voice rang out. "An account? The Yao race acts with a clear conscience. Yesterday, this emperor already gave your Qin family an answer. What? Our saint's legs were shattered. If that answer displeases you, I could exert myself a bit more and ensure he never shouts again. Would that satisfy you?" Hearing that voice, every nearby power was stunned, thinking, "Brutal. This demon clan emperor's domineering aura has thoroughly humiliated the Qin family." Some uninvolved factions even sat cross-legged in the Void Realm to watch the spectacle. Among them many other hidden world giant holy land forces. Chapter 92, The Mighty Yao Race, A Show of Force. At that moment, upon hearing the voice, the pale-faced, middle-aged man turned cold. An icy killing intent spilled from his body. He pressed straight toward the source of the voice, releasing his pressure, and barked. "Humph." An ant-like creature, ignorant of the vastness of the heavens. "You think Yao race backing lets you act without restraint? All you do is wag your tongue. Today this emperor will show you the might of the hidden world giant holy land. Get out here." In the next instant the pale man erupted with terrifying aura, raised his hand, and a blood-red immortal spiritual power condensed into a sky-blotting crimson hand that ignored the great Yin dynasty experts and clawed straight at Xingchen. But a deafening boom followed. A colossal storm of energy erupted, sending gales of qi rolling outward and shaking the surrounding space. From a Yao race's direction, a white-haired old woman stepped into the void and struck at the terrifying crimson hand with her palm. That palm likewise carried boundless might, turning into a heaven-shading giant palm to meet the Qin family man's move. The thunderous roar and energy storm were born from the clash of those two mighty techniques. By now, the calm-looking Xingchen had led Luo Qingshan by the hand outside the courtyard, trailed by Sikong Yao and 10 other Yao race prodigies. In the sky, only the white-haired old woman remained, clearly a Yao race immortal emperor expert. The still pale, middle-aged man glanced at her, curling his lip in open disdain. When his gaze landed on Luo Qingshan outside the courtyard, his eyes lit up. He instantly understood why the saint had acted so. This demon empress truly possessed beauty that could topple kingdoms. The next moment, the man waved lightly, and a dozen immortal emperors surrounded Luo Qingshan and Xingchen. Only then did he raise his brows in a pose of assured victory and say, "If the demon empress personally apologizes today and compensates for the suffering of our Qin family saint, our Qin family can still be reasonable." Looking at the dozen-plus immortal emperors radiating powerful auras, Xingchen smiled faintly with interest and asked, "Oh, compensation? What sort of compensation does the Qin family want?" The middle-aged man glanced at Xingchen, knowing he was the demon clan emperor, looked at him with contempt, and spoke. "Oomph. The Qin family's dignity is not something the Yao race can touch. If the Yao race offers the method of crafting the life-divine spring as compensation, our Qin family can let the matter rest." He leered at Xingchen while speaking. Hearing the demand, Luo Qingshan frowned. Sikong Yao and the others behind her glared in fury, and the surrounding onlookers gasped. The Qin family was opening its mouth like a lion. Suddenly a cool, clear voice rang out. "Emperor Yi, long time no see." As the words fell, several immortal emperors arrived at Xingchen's location, subtly shielding the Yao race group in their midst. To everyone's shock, the newcomers were the divine wilderness apex Force Myriad Flowers Divine Palace, and the speaker was none other than its palace master Hua Xuyan. At the sight of the suddenly appearing Hua Xuyan, countless onlookers felt dazzled, but the middle-aged man frowned slightly. Seeing her before him, Xingchen smiled and said, "So it's Palace Master Hua. Indeed, long time no see." Looking at Xingchen, Hua Xuyan's eyes brimmed with joy. She glanced at Luo Qingshan, unexpectedly blushed, and softly greeted, "Empress Luo, long time no see." Luo Qingshan replied with a gentle smile. "Palace Master Hua, likewise, long time no see." Suddenly the middle-aged man's voice cut in. "Humph, Qin family business. Unrelated people leave at once, or you'll be deemed provocateurs against Qin family dignity. Accidental injuries won't be our concern." Behind him, Qin Haoyan brightened at the sight of Hua Xuyan. Gazing at the noble, bewitching Luo Qingshan and the coolly beautiful Hua Xuyan, he regretted not coming to Divine Wilderness sooner. Otherwise, these stunning women would already have been his. As if she hadn't heard the threat, Hua Xuyan looked tenderly at Yi Xingchen and said, Emperor Yi, thank you for that day. Today, Myriad Flowers' Divine Palace is willing to aid the Yao race in gratitude for your gift. Listening to her sincere words while gazing at her flawless face, Yi Xingchen gently shook his head. Honestly, Yi Xingchen was deeply moved. Hua Xuyan had taken an enormous risk by going this far, one that could even bring annihilation to her sect. After all, everyone knew the might of a hidden family. Once, a top-tier power offended a hidden world giant holy land and was wiped out overnight. That living example still stings. Now, under these circumstances, Hua Xuyan would rather offend the hidden Qin family to help the Yao race, showing just how heavy her feelings were. She claimed it was to repay him for gifting the Life Divine Spring and the Azure Frostflower bracelet. But in truth, she simply wanted to aid him. Yi Xingchen wasn't a fool. How could he not see it? Yet he couldn't accept, for if Myriad Flowers' Divine Palace were to earn the Qin family's enmity because of him, it simply wouldn't be worth it. Besides, wasn't today the perfect chance to let every major power, including the hidden world giant Holy Land forces, witness how mighty the Yao race had become? Seeing Yi Xingchen shake his head, Hua Xuyan grew anxious and hurriedly looked toward Luo Qingshan, only to find Luo Qingshan smiling as she stepped up, took Hua Xuyan's hand, and said gently, Little sister, no need to worry, the Yao race isn't that weak. Still, I appreciate your kindness. Thank you, little sister. Hearing Luo Qingshan's words and seeing the smile in her eyes, Hua Xuyan's pretty face flushed. The words little sister made her heart soar, and she couldn't help sneaking a glance at Yi Xingchen, her gaze brimming with affection. At this moment, Yi Xingchen looked at the middle-aged man and spoke aloud. This emperor is happy to meet friends today and can't be bothered with a bunch of trash. Scram now, or don't even think of leaving. With a casual wave, Yi Xingchen summoned several dozen immortal emperors whose terrifying auras instantly surrounded the Qin family's own immortal emperor experts. The sight stunned every power present. The courtyard fell dead silent. Even Flame Emperor Wudi, who had been hiding deep in the Void Realm, was shocked, so the Yao race was already strong enough to rival a hidden power. Even hidden powers were alarmed. The Yao race actually had over 20 immortal emperors, nearly matching their own numbers. More importantly, after enduring the shaping heavenly tribulation and assuming human form, Yao race members faced tribulations several times harsher than those of the human race when breaking into the immortal emperor realm. Because of this, a Yao race immortal emperor is usually several times stronger than a human race immortal emperor. Thus, seeing so many Yao race immortal emperors appear at once, the middle-aged man's face changed drastically. The onlookers, though shocked, now looked toward the Qin family's direction as if enjoying a joke. This was going to be a good show. They had brought plenty of immortal emperors, expecting to make the Yao race bow, only to find the Yao race had hidden their strength and actually outnumbered them. Now, their faces were being slapped hard. Every power turned to watch how the Qin family would end this fiasco. Yesterday, the Qin family's saint had his legs crippled by Demon Clan Emperor Yi Xingchen, and the Qin immortal emperors had to apologize in front of the gathered powers. Today, they came to recover their prestige, only to be slapped again. The hidden Qin family's debut was a complete humiliation. The Yao race's armed deterrence left them speechless. Now, facing so many immortal emperors, the middle-aged man frowned deeply, gave Yi Xingchen a long look, said nothing, and turned to lead the Qin people away in disgrace. Suddenly, Yi Xingchen's voice rang out. What? The Qin family struts into the Yao race's residence early in the morning to throw their weight around, and now you just plan to leave. Do you think the Yao race is easy to bully? Hearing that, the middle-aged man whirled around, furious, and shouted, Yi Xingchen, what more do you want? Don't think the Qin family truly fears your Yao race. Don't push your luck. Oomph. In this emperor's eyes, your Qin family's face is worthless. Today, unless the Qin family apologizes to the Yao race, none of these people are leaving. The moment Yi Xingchen finished, over 20 Yao race immortal emperors erupted with terrifying auras, locking onto every Qin immortal emperor. With a single word from Yi Xingchen, a true emperor-level war could break out between the two powers. At this point, the middle-aged man was about to retort when a majestic voice rang out, startling everyone and prompting inward exclamations. A great emperor expert. The Qin family's great emperor actually came. Now the show really begins. Yet Yi Xingchen remained calm, walking step by step up to Qin Haoyan and, in front of the entire crowd, did something that left countless people stunned. Chapter 93. Su Longxiao appears, speculations from various powers. At this moment, a majestic voice rang out. Let's just drop this matter. This majestic voice startled everyone around, as it was actually a great emperor expert from the Qin family who had intervened. As if he hadn't heard the voice, Yi Xingchen walked step by step towards Qin Haoyan. At this moment, Qin Haoyan looked at Yi Xingchen with a provocative expression, his eyes filled with a triumphant look that seemed to say, "What can you do to me?" With a great emperor expert from the Qin family overseeing things, even if your Yao race isn't convinced, you can only obediently bow your heads. Seeing Qin Haoyan's smug expression, Yi Xingchen raised his hand and slapped him. This slap instantly stunned Qin Haoyan. The other Qin family immortal emperor experts, just as they were about to make a move, were locked down by the Yao race immortal emperors and dared not make the slightest movement, watching helplessly as the holy son of the Qin family was slapped repeatedly by Yi Xingchen. Slap, 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 slap. A series of slapping sounds rang out. At this moment, Qin Haoyan's eyes were practically spitting fire, yet his entire body seemed to be fixed by some mysterious force. No matter how he struggled, he couldn't move an inch. He could only obediently endure Yi Xingchen's continuous slaps. At this moment, Qin Haoyan's face was already swollen like a pig's head, no longer recognizable. This made everyone around widen their eyes, not daring to let out a single laugh. This Yao race emperor was simply too overbearing. The Qin family's great emperor had already spoken, yet this Yao race emperor seemed not to have heard him, directly ignoring the words of the great emperor expert. At this moment, a terrifying pressure descended from the void realm, like wrath from hell, turning the surrounding void realm blood red. How dare you ignore this emperor? You shall be annihilated. As soon as the words fell, a terrifying blood-colored dragon, carrying boundless pressure, roared towards Yi Xingchen. Seeing this, Luo Qingshan and Hua Shuyan instinctively flashed to stand in front of Yi Xingchen. Luo Qingshan had a green lotus floating above her head, emitting a crystalline divine radiance. It was precisely the guardian green lotus that Yi Xingchen had given to Luo Qingshan. Meanwhile, behind Hua Shuyan, a 9-color divine flower bloomed, emitting a soft light that enveloped Yi Xingchen. Seeing the two women's instinctive reactions, countless people were surprised. They could understand the Demon Empress's reaction, but the reaction of Hua Shuyan, the lord of the myriad flowers' divine palace, made people's imaginations run wild. Their gazes towards Yi Xingchen were full of jealousy. Could it be that being handsome truly made one so popular with women? And seeing the two women's reactions, Yi Xingchen's expression remained calm as he looked at the blood-colored dragon roaring towards him, emanating boundless pressure. He walked to the two women's side, gave them a reassuring look, then passed between them and stood in front of them. Just as Yi Xingchen was about to raise his right hand, a white-haired old man appeared in front of the blood-colored dragon. As if knowing the white-haired old man's identity, the blood-colored dragon, which had been exuding boundless aura, instantly vanished without a trace, and from the void realm, the Qin family's great emperor's voice, filled with surprise, asked, "Clan Chief Su, what is the meaning of this?" The people around were slightly surprised to see the suddenly appearing white-haired old man actually force the Qin family's great emperor to disperse his move. It wasn't until they heard the Qin family great emperor's words that those top powers, especially the hidden world giant holy land powers, all widened their eyes and looked at the white-robed figure. This person was actually the clan chief of the extremely powerful hidden family, the Su family, Su Longxiao. The Yao race emperor actually knew the Su family clan chief. At this moment, all the powers had some thoughts in their minds. Could it be that the Yao race emperor was not, as the Shangqing Palace claimed, but was actually a true hidden family disciple? Otherwise, how could he know the clan chief of the hidden Su family? At this moment, hearing the Qin family great emperor's words, Su Longxiao chuckled and said, "This old man owes young friend Yi a favor. I asked the Qin family's great emperor to give this old man some face. How about it?" Hearing Su Longxiao's words, there was a brief pause in the void realm. Then the majestic voice came. "Since Clan Chief Su has spoken, the Qin family will give Clan Chief Su face. Let's go." As soon as the words fell, the void realm trembled, and the other Qin family immortal emperors also disappeared under the leadership of the middle-aged man. Yi Xingchen did not stop them, but instead said to Qin Haoyan, who looked like a pig's head, "Pig head, remember this. The next time you see this emperor, be more obedient, or it won't be as simple as just turning into a pig's head." Hearing Yi Xingchen's words, the surrounding powers' eyelids twitched. This Yao race emperor must never be offended, otherwise he would definitely be a master of vengeance. And Qin Haoyan, hearing Yi Xingchen's words, made no response and left here even faster. At this moment, Su Longxiao, hearing Yi Xingchen's words, also smiled slightly and said, Young friend Yi, we meet again. Won't you invite this old man to your Yao race residence for a sit-down and a drink? Hearing Su Longxiao's words, Yi Xingchen snorted lightly and said, I'm busy today. Come again tomorrow. After speaking, without waiting for Su Longxiao to reply, he directly approached Hua Shuyan and softly said, Palace Master Hua, thank you for earlier. I wonder if the materials are all prepared. If they are, this emperor will refine the antidote for the hellflower poison for you today. Hearing Yi Xingchen's words, Hua Shuyan's face lit up with joy, and she looked at Yi Xingchen gently, saying, Emperor Yi, the required materials are ready, but do you need a rest for a bit? After all, refining this medicinal pill takes quite some time. No need. It's just an 8th grade medicinal pill. It'll be refined quickly. Palace Master Hua, please come in. After Yi Xingchen finished speaking, he didn't even look at Su Longxiao, but took Luo Qingshan's hand and entered the Yao race's residence. Luo Qingshan and Yi Xingchen's conversation could be heard from afar. Husband, treating that old man like this, after he just helped us out, isn't that a bit inappropriate? Wife, there's no need to feel guilty. That old fellow just wants to freeload drinks. The divine wine this emperor brews isn't something one can drink just by wanting to. Telling him to come tomorrow is already giving that old fellow enough face. At this moment, hearing Yi Xingchen's words, everyone around widened their eyes, while Su Longxiao merely smiled, unconcerned, and spoke towards the direction where Yi Xingchen had disappeared. Young friend Yi, then this old man will disturb you again tomorrow. As soon as the words fell, his figure vanished. This instantly caused a stir among the surrounding people. The various powers were filled with curiosity about Yi Xingchen's true identity. No one believed that Yi Xingchen was just an ordinary human race. And the fact that the Yao race could undergo such significant changes in such a short period must be related to this young man. Even the hidden world giant Holy Land powers began to secretly investigate the true identity of the Yao race emperor. Yi Xingchen couldn't be bothered with anything happening outside. He led Hua Shuyan to the alchemy room in the residence and looked at the alchemy room prepared by the Great Yin dynasty. Although it was a bit simple, it was still decent. After Hua Shuyan took out the prepared materials, Yi Xingchen spoke to Luo Qingshan, saying, Wife, please take Palace Master Hua and everyone from the Myriad Flowers Divine Palace to the living room to sit for a while. Refining this medicinal pill will take at least 2 hours, and it will get too hot in here. I'm afraid you won't be able to stand it. Hearing Yi Xingchen's words, Hua Shuyan spoke somewhat awkwardly, saying, Emperor Yi, if you're not afraid of revealing your alchemy techniques, this empress hopes to watch here. Seeing Yi Xingchen look over, Hua Shuyan immediately explained, Please don't misunderstand. Emperor Yi, the Myriad Flowers Divine Palace and this empress have great trust in your character. It's just that this empress has never witnessed alchemy before and is very curious to see it. Hearing Hua Shuyan's words, Yi Xingchen smiled slightly and said, Palace Master Hua, there's no need for that. This emperor trusts you. If Palace Master Hua wants to watch, you may stay. At this moment, Luo Qingshan smiled slightly, with an inexplicable light in her eyes, and said to Yi Xingchen, Husband, since that's the case, Luo Qingshan will take everyone from the Myriad Flowers Divine Palace to the living room to wait for you. Yi Xingchen looked at Luo Qingshan gently and nodded slightly. Smiling slightly at Hua Xin, Luo Qingshan then led the others out of the alchemy room. Seeing everyone leave, Yi Xingchen waved his hand, closing the door of the alchemy room. The entire alchemy room instantly darkened. At this moment, Hua Shuyan's face was flushed. This was her first time being alone with a man, and in such a dark environment, no less. This made Hua Shuyan's heart pound uncontrollably. Looking at the white-robed figure before her, Hua Shuyan's eyes gleamed with a crystalline light. Chapter 94, Ambiguous Alchemy, an overjoyed Hua Shuyan. Once everyone had left, Yi Xingchen finally shut the door of the alchemy chamber. Instantly, the entire room dimmed. With practiced ease, he opened the pill furnace. A casual wave sent a stream of blazing golden flame into the cauldron to heat it. One after another, he melted the ingredients in order, striking different hand seals at the precise moments required. Nearly an hour passed before every material had been merged inside the furnace. Only then did he breathe a sigh of relief. This was his first genuine attempt at alchemy. Though every motion and trick existed in his mind, nerves still crept in, yet everything had gone smoothly. Next came the refinement of medicinal properties, letting the herbs fuse in strict sequence and ratio to form the pill, the step that most tested an alchemist. One slip could ruin everything. Fortunately, Yi Xingchen's strength and mental energy were peerless, sparing him any embarrassment. Beside him, Hua Shuyan watched the busy white-robed figure. Waves of scorching heat rolled out, and sweat dripped ceaselessly from Yi Xingchen's forehead. with the chamber sealed except for a tiny vent and the constant infusion of blazing flame into the furnace. The temperature inside soared. Even the smallest disturbance could provoke violent changes in the furnace, leaving the finished pill far below its intended quality. Therefore, neither of them circulated a trace of immortal spiritual qi to ward off the heat. Sweat streamed down Hua Shuyan's brow as well. Seeing Xingchen too occupied to wipe his face, she stepped forward, lifted her sleeve, and gently dabbed away the perspiration on his forehead. A faint, pleasant fragrance drifted into his nose as Hua Shuyan tenderly absorbed his sweat. Xingchen turned to her, noting how the heat had dampened the hair around her temples, and said softly, "It's too hot here, Palace Master Hua. Stand by the door. It's a little cooler there." At his words, she raised her own hand to wipe her brow and replied quietly, "Emperor Yi, you are refining an antidote for Myriad Flower's divine palace. How can I let you stand alone? I'll stay and wipe your sweat." Xingchen smiled at her flushed cheeks and said no more. For the next hour, most of his focus stayed on the pill, while Hua Shuyan periodically mopped the sweat from his forehead and cheeks. Like a devoted wife, she gazed at him with deep affection, though he never noticed. Only when Xingchen extinguished the golden flames did the chamber begin to cool. Opening the furnace, the two saw a cyan pill resting within. With a casual gesture, he levitated the cyan pill before them, nodded in satisfaction, and said, "An 8th grade pill hides its essence inside an unassuming shell. 8 faint pill veins glow with cyan light, top quality among 8th grade pills." He placed the cyan pill into Hua Shuyan's palm and murmured, "Palace Master Hua, I have not failed you. This disaster-dispelling pill that neutralizes Hellflower toxin is complete. In a moment we can give it to Senior Lu. Before long the poison of the Hellflower will be purged, and thanks to years of accumulated strength, Senior Lu may even break through her current realm as the toxin is expelled." Staring at the cyan pill, Hua Shuyan recalled the agony Lu Ruosu had endured and the grievances Myriad Flower's divine palace had suffered to persuade Shangqing Palace to refine this remedy. Overcome with emotion, she flung herself into Xingchen's arms, bouncing in joy and exclaiming, "Xingchen, thank you so much. With this pill, Aunt Lu will finally be free of the Hellflower torture. Thank you, Xingchen." In her excitement, Hua Shuyan called him by name without reservation. At this moment, Xingchen stood motionless. He could feel Hua Shuyan's excitement, and probably because the temperature inside the pill room had been too high for the past 2 hours. The clothes on both of them were already soaked through. Hua Shuyan, caught up in her excitement, might not have noticed, but Xingchen was acutely aware of it. He stammered toward Hua Shuyan, "P Palace Master Hua Tiake." Now, as Hua Shuyan slowly calmed down, she seemed to sense something as well. With a shy look, she stepped away from Xingchen's embrace. Yet the moment she did, his gaze couldn't help drifting over her. The next instant, Xingchen froze. Seeing him fall silent, Hua Shuyan shyly lifted her head, only to find him staring at her in a daze. Sensing something amiss, Hua Shuyan looked down. "Ah!" A soft cry of embarrassment burst out. She instantly crossed her arms over her chest, her face scarlet as she crouched down. Only when he heard her cry did Xingchen come back to his senses, gazing at her in helpless confusion. Hua Shuyan, cheeks flushed, murmured, "Why, you're still looking?" At her words, Xingchen finally reacted, hurriedly turning away. I didn't mean to, Palace Master Hua." He felt any explanation was pointless. Even with his back to her, the image of her bashful face and perfect figure kept resurfacing in his mind. Fortunately, the pill refinement was finished. Both circulated their immortal spiritual power, instantly drying their clothes. Only then did Hua Shuyan whisper shyly, "Emperor Yi, you could turn around now." At her voice, Xingchen turned back. Seeing her standing there with downcast, blushing face, that shy charm drew him in deeply and left him momentarily stunned. When he said nothing, she sneaked a glance upward. Finding him still staring in a trance, she shyly lowered her head again, joy filling her heart. Xingchen sighed inwardly. Had heaven decided to compensate him in this life for the betrayal he'd suffered in the last? He already possessed Luo Qingshan, a woman of unparalleled beauty. He knew he ought not to feel this way. Yet now Xia Jun was one thing, and Hua Shuyan another. As a man, instinct told him he didn't want either of them to become someone else's. From this moment on, if anything befell either woman, he knew he couldn't stand idly by. Looking at the bashful Hua Shuyan, Xingchen thought lingering would only deepen the awkwardness. "Palace Master Hua, the pill is done. Let's go. They're still waiting outside." She lifted her gaze and gave a soft Yet in her eyes he caught a flicker of loss and hurt, and the sight made his heart ache. He cursed himself inwardly. He'd understood her feelings from the start. Otherwise, she'd never have risked the hidden Qin family wiping out her sect to help him. And now he'd offered not even a word. How could she not feel disappointed and pained? Watching her back, Xingchen felt as if he were about to lose something. If he did nothing, a proud woman like Hua Shuyan would bury her love deep, and they would remain merely friends. That thought unsettled him completely. With a flash, he appeared at her side. Meeting her startled, blushing gaze, he leaned to her ear and whispered something. The next moment, she lifted her face, joy sparkling in her eyes. Unable to hold back, she threw herself into his arms. She hugged him tightly, trembling with emotion, as though all the longing of these days had burst forth at once. Chapter 95, Luo Qingshan's Wisdom, the Great Emperor's Heavenly Tribulation. At this moment, Xingchen felt the woman in his arms trembling with excitement. He gently patted Hua Shuyan's back and softly said, "We've stayed long enough, let's go out." Hearing Xingchen's words, Hua Shuyan shyly left his embrace, nodded obediently, and stole a glance at him, her beautiful eyes brimming with tenderness. If any outsider were present, their jaws would drop. The renowned lord of Myriad Flowers' divine palace, that breathtaking woman who always appeared cold and aloof, was now acting like a bashful young girl. Her eyes filled with affection, cheeks flushed with shyness. Where was the imposing aura befitting a sect master? Watching Hua Shuyan, Xingchen produced a hiding god talisman and placed it in her hand, smiling gently as he said, "This is a hiding god talisman. In a life-threatening crisis, channel immortal spiritual qi into it and throw it out. It will dispel all danger. Remember this well, Shuyan." As she gazed at the ancient black jade talisman in her palm and heard Xingchen call her name so intimately, the blush that had just faded surged back into Hua Shuyan's cheeks. She gave a soft then followed Xingchen out of the alchemy chamber. The two arrived in the main hall, where Luo Qingshan was chatting with several immortal emperors of Myriad Flowers' divine palace. Upon seeing them approach, she rose and walked to Xingchen. Noting the evasive look in Hua Shuyan's eyes, Luo Qingshan softly asked, "Husband, did you succeed?" Xingchen gave a faint smile and nodded, though a trace of guilt flickered in his eyes. Hua Shuyan glanced nervously at Xingchen and said to Luo Qingshan, "Elder sister, the medicinal pill has been refined. Many thanks to Emperor Yi. I must hurry back to let Aunt Lu take it to ease her pain from the hellflower poison. I won't disturb you any longer. Please excuse me." After speaking, she stole another look at Xingchen, bowed slightly to Luo Qingshan, and turned to leave as though fleeing. Hua Shuyan's behavior left the several immortal emperors of Myriad Flowers' divine palace momentarily stunned. This was the first time they had seen her like this, and they all turned to Xingchen in bewilderment. Once everyone from Myriad Flowers' divine palace had departed, Luo Qingshan walked up to Xingchen with a smile. Seeing her husband's guilty expression, she couldn't help but let out a soft laugh. Xingchen met his wife's gaze, those eyes that seemed to see straight into the heart, and guiltily said, "Wife, I need to confess something. If I don't, I'll feel uneasy." Seeing her mighty husband, whose aura could dominate the world, now lowering his head like a child who had done wrong, Luo Qingshan smiled gently and replied, "What does husband wish to tell Shaner?" At her words, Xingchen steeled himself and recounted everything that had happened during the alchemy session, as well as events in the endless forest, withholding nothing. He refused to deceive Luo Qingshan and told her every detail. Watching her husband, head bowed like a boy admitting his mistakes, Luo Qingshan felt helpless. She knew how outstanding her husband was. His natural bearing could effortlessly draw women's eyes. Otherwise, she would not have spared him on their first meeting, even telling herself it was to investigate the mastermind behind the scenes. In the end, she had even used her own essence blood to save Xingchen, all because that first glance had captivated her. Now, hearing his confession, Luo Qingshan showed little surprise. She stepped close and softly said, "Husband, Shaner was born among the Yao race and raised among the human race. Among both peoples, which true powerhouse does not keep several wives. Since the day I married you, I knew I could never monopolize you for life. So husband need not worry that I'll be unhappy. I'm of the Yao race. I'd even hope you find more sisters to expand the Yi family line." Seeing her earnest expression, Xingchen understood Luo Qingshan was trying to spare him distress. He gently drew her into his arms and murmured, "Wife, I know this wrongs you, yet every entanglement with them was an accident of fate. As a man, I cannot simply do nothing. Luo Qingshan raised a finger to his lips, smiled tenderly, and said, "Shano understands. I'm not wronged. Husband still doesn't see. Among the Yao race, polygamy is common. I only hope those two younger sisters won't despise this elder sister in the future. Xingchen stared at her serious eyes, inwardly puzzled. Could Yao women truly be so unconcerned? Whatever the case, he must make his stance clear and hastily declared. Rest assured, wife, no matter what happens with them, in my heart you will always be foremost. This will never change. Hearing her husband's vow, Luo Xingchen hugged him tightly, a gleam of wisdom shining in her eyes. A clever woman always knows what to do and what to leave undone. The scene shifted to the courtyard where Myriad Flowers' divine palace resided. Hua Xuan, several immortal emperors, and the prodigy disciples all gazed tensely at the 9 heavens void. Throughout the courtyard, terrifying auras surged. The temperature plummeted, white snowflakes drifting down. Space itself seemed frozen, cracks spreading. Sensing the dreadful might, Hua Xuan's expression was cool and serene as she stated. Just as Emperor Yi predicted, once Aunt Lu is freed from the Hellflower toxin, her deep foundation may let her advance another step and break through to the great Emperor realm. Guard Aunt Lu's breakthrough. Let no one set foot in this courtyard. Any intruder will be deemed an enemy of Myriad Flowers' divine palace and slain on sight. Hua Xuan's face was grave, her body exuding an icy, dreadful intent as she addressed every member of Myriad Flowers' divine palace. Yes, we obey the palace lord's decree. All disciples answered in unison. The moment their voices fell, every snowflake around the courtyard seemed to freeze mid-air. The fracturing of space halted as though the entire area had been fixed in time. A terrifying, frigid aura erupted from the courtyard's center, forming rings of light that swept outward. Wherever they passed, everything turned to ice shards. Witnessing the spectacle, Hua Xuan's eyes lit up as she whispered, Aunt Lu has broken through. Almost as her words sounded, a thunderous boom rolled out. Throughout Yan Emperor's city, every resident felt a dreadful terror descend, shaking every heart. Countless experts soared into the sky, staring at the black thunderclouds gathering above Myriad Flowers' divine palace's courtyard, and could not help but cry out in shock. The great Emperor's heavenly tribulation, Myriad Flowers' divine palace's grand elder, is actually breaking into the great Emperor realm right now. Chapter 96. Withering Tree Spring Technique, Heavenly Tao Light. At this moment, countless experts looked at the black thunderclouds constantly gathering in the 9 heavens void realm. The rolling black clouds exuded terrifying pressure. This caused all immortal Emperor realm experts to feel a great fear involuntarily. This fear came from the bottom of their hearts, and it was something all immortal Emperor realm experts had to experience when they break through. Looking at the black thunderclouds constantly gathering in the void realm, and the blue lightning constantly flashing in the thunderclouds, the experts from all forces stood far away in the void realm, looking at the courtyard where the Myriad Flowers' divine palace was located. This kind of great Emperor tribulation is a rare opportunity to see. After all, there are very few experts who can break through to the great Emperor realm. Such a rare opportunity is definitely a good opportunity for all immortal Emperor realm experts to learn, because this kind of experience is what they must experience in the future. Hua Xuan looked at the rolling black tribulation clouds in the sky, and a great fear rose in her heart as well. As if remembering something, she said, Everyone, leave the courtyard immediately to a distance of 100 meters. Otherwise, the great Emperor Tribulation will attack anyone indiscriminately. After Hua Xuan finished speaking, everyone flashed away and stayed away from the 100-meter range of the great Emperor Tribulation. At this moment, a woman wearing a gray dress appeared above the courtyard. The woman exuded a crystal-clear white light, and countless white snowflakes surrounded her. It was Lu Ruosu, who had just broken through to the great Emperor realm. At this moment, the death chi on Lu Ruosu's body completely disappeared, and because she had broken through to the great Emperor realm, her face had turned into that of a middle-aged woman. She had a unique charm all over her body, making people know at a glance that this woman must have been a stunning beauty when she was young. Looking at the black thunderclouds that were getting thicker and thicker, as if they were right in front of her, within reach, everyone knew that this was Lu Ruosu's most critical moment. If she passed it, the heavenly Tao would bestow rewards, allowing Lu Ruosu to completely stabilize her great Emperor realm cultivation and become a truly supreme great Emperor realm expert. If Lu Ruosu could not get through it, she would be directly devoured by this terrifying great Emperor tribulation. At best, she would be seriously injured and her realm would regress. At worst, she would be directly killed by the great Emperor lightning tribulation, leaving no bones, and her divine soul would be annihilated. At this time, although Lu Ruosu had broken through to the great Emperor realm, she could only be regarded as a half-step great Emperor realm expert because she had not experienced the great Emperor tribulation. At this moment, Lu Ruosu, who was standing in the void realm, had her clothes fluttering and a serious face. She looked up at the increasingly thick black tribulation clouds, as if the end of the world was coming. The lightning in the tribulation clouds also slowly merged together. Each time it appeared, it would become more and more powerful. As if feeling something, Lu Ruosu flipped her wrist, and an ancient seal emitting golden light appeared above Lu Ruosu's head. It emitted golden rays of light, firmly enveloping Lu Ruosu. The next moment, Lu Ruosu formed a hand seal, and a colorful flower bloomed behind her. A powerful aura erupted, directly confronting the terrifying rolling tribulation clouds. As if provoked, the entire void realm suddenly became silent, just like the darkness before dawn, and the next moment, light bloomed. A thick blue lightning bolt transformed into a roaring giant dragon, with a huge roar, making the entire dark sky covered by rolling thunder clouds instantly as bright as day, and directly struck down towards Lu Ruosu's direction. With a loud boom, everyone couldn't help but raise their hands to cover their ears. This powerful lightning tribulation directly struck the ancient seal, making a huge noise. It only blocked the terrifying lightning tribulation for a blink of an eye, and the ancient seal emitting golden light turned into powder. This surprised everyone. Everyone could feel the power of this ancient seal, but even such a powerful ancient seal seemed like a decoration in front of this bowl-thick, terrifying lightning tribulation, and was vulnerable to a single blow. The terrifying lightning tribulation continued unabated, with the terrifying power to destroy everything, and struck towards Lu Ruosu, as if it would not give up until Lu Ruosu was eliminated. At this time, Xingchen, who was also standing in the void realm and watching this scene, couldn't help but sigh secretly when he saw the terrifying lightning tribulation that was like the end of the world. This great emperor tribulation was far more powerful than he imagined. Fortunately, he had a system, and every breakthrough was clean and neat, without the need to experience any heavenly tribulation, until now. Lu Ruosu, who was standing under the tribulation clouds, looked at the lightning tribulation that was coming straight towards her without diminishing momentum, and her face did not show any panic. With so many years of preparation, Lu Ruosu had a deep enough foundation. With a wave of both hands, a colorful divine light appeared, and the colorful flower behind her transformed into a colorful light shield, blocking it in front of Lu Ruosu. Just when everyone thought that this soft, colorful light shield could not stop this terrifying lightning tribulation. The next moment, the bowl-thick, terrifying lightning tribulation bombarded the colorful light shield. Crack, 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 6 consecutive sounds of the colorful light shield shattering rang out. Just when everyone thought that the colorful light shield could not stop this terrifying lightning tribulation. Lu Ruosu raised her hand and shot a ray of light onto the colorful light shield. Instantly, the entire colorful light shield flashed with brilliance and returned to its original appearance. Many experts from various forces with vision couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Myriad Flowers Divine Palace's town sect unique skill, withering tree spring technique. Some of the surrounding experts were slightly stunned when they heard the words of those top experts. Seeing that some forces did not understand, a white-haired old man explained. Withering tree spring technique is the town sect unique skill of the Myriad Flowers Divine Palace. As long as the immortal spiritual power in the body is sufficient, it can be continuously restored. It can be said that it is innate, invincible. And the colorful divine flower behind Lu Ruosu has already cultivated 7 colors, only 2 colors away from cultivating to the highest realm of 9 colors. Even so, it is extremely powerful. As long as the immortal spiritual chi in her body is sufficient, there is no problem in getting through this great emperor tribulation. As soon as the old man's voice fell, the terrifying lightning tribulation seemed to have been provoked. From the rolling thunder clouds, an even thicker lightning bolt sped down and struck towards Lu Ruosu's direction. Lu Ruosu looked at this even more terrifying lightning tribulation, but not only did she not have the slightest worry on her face, but her eyes revealed rays of divine light. This should be the last one. If she can get through it, she will be able to step into the real great emperor realm. Not daring to be careless, Lu Ruosu raised her hands one after another and injected hundreds of energy beams, gradually dissipating the energy of the entire lightning tribulation. As time went by, Lu Ruosu's consumption became more and more serious, and her face slowly turned pale. Fortunately, the white light emitted by the lightning tribulation became dimmer and dimmer. Finally, it let out an unwilling roar and completely disappeared. Until this time, the rolling thunderclouds in the void realm began to slowly dissipate. A golden beam of light broke through the rolling thunderclouds and directly descended on Lu Ruosu. Many experts felt the golden beam of light emitting energy, and their eyes were filled with greed. This is the heavenly Tao light that is bestowed after breaking through the great Emperor tribulation, truly stepping into the great Emperor realm and obtaining the heavenly Tao's approval. It is incredibly magical and makes people jealous. Just as Lu Ruosu closed her eyes and absorbed the heavenly Tao light, a figure with extreme speed, plunder went towards the heavenly Tao light above Lu Ruosu's head, wanting to directly snatch the heavenly Tao light. Countless experts showed surprised expressions when they saw this scene, and then turned into mocking expressions. The immortal Emperor Realm experts from those hidden world, giant Holy Land forces directly spoke out, without any concealment. Overestimate yourself. How can the heavenly Tao light be so easy to snatch? If it were so easy to snatch, would it still be waiting for you to take action? It would have been snatched away by others long ago. Sure enough, the next moment, a scream rang out, and a scene that shocked many surrounding forces appeared. Chapter 97. The Qin family scheme, the great era descends. At this moment, upon seeing someone dare to snatch the light of the heavenly Tao, the immortal emperors of those top powers all revealed expressions of mockery. They all secretly thought, how could the light of the heavenly Tao be so easily snatched? Sure enough, the next moment, a miserable scream rang out, instantly vanishing. Everyone was shocked to find that the figure, the instant they touched the light of the heavenly Tao, was immediately reduced to dust by the terrifying energy of the light of the heavenly Tao, their divine soul utterly destroyed. A middle-aged man from the Sword Sect, a power belonging to the hidden world giant Holy Land faction, glanced disdainfully at the figure that had turned to dust, and sneered. Overestimating yourself. How dare you try to snatch the reward bestowed by the person acknowledged by the heavenly Tao? This light of the heavenly Tao is a supreme divine object for those who have undergone heavenly tribulation. But for everyone else, it is equivalent to the great Emperor tribulation. Touching it means instant destruction. For an immortal sovereign expert to be so envious as to attempt to snatch the light of the heavenly Tao, it's utterly ridiculous. At this moment, Lu Ruosu's entire aura surged violently. Terrifying energy erupted, and the surrounding area of ice and snow continuously expanded, seemingly freezing even space and time. Everywhere she passed was frozen into frost, and the entire courtyard instantly turned into an ice sculpture, emitting an extremely cold aura. The next moment, Lu Ruosu opened her eyes, a divine light flashed, and with a casual wave of her hand, the entire frozen courtyard instantly returned to its original state, and her entire aura slowly retracted, making her look like an ordinary person. All the powers knew clearly in their hearts that another great emperor expert had been born in the divine wilderness continent. Lu Ruosu turned her head and glanced around. After spotting Xingchen, she flashed directly in front of him, respectfully bowed to Xingchen, and spoke. Thank you, Demon Clan Emperor, for the favor of alchemy. Seeing a supreme great Emperor Realm expert actually bowing to the Demon Clan Emperor, everyone was astonished. Xingchen saw Lu Ruosu bowing to him. He did not dodge, standing naturally to accept Lu Ruosu's bow. This was because Hua Shuiyan had just transmitted a message to Xingchen, explaining that this was Lu Ruosu's temperament. If Xingchen did not accept the bow, Lu Ruosu would remain bowed and would not get up. Only then did Xingchen speak to Lu Ruosu. Aunt Lu is too polite. There is no need for such ceremony. Please rise. Hua Shuiyan, who had already arrived beside Lu Ruosu, immediately blushed when she heard Xingchen also call Lu Ruosu Aunt Lu. Her cold and stunning temperament now seemed even more charming. She secretly glanced at Xingchen and saw him winking at her with a mischievous smile. She glared fiercely at Xingchen before happily moving to Lu Ruosu's side. Lu Ruosu looked at the shy Hua Shuiyan, then looked up at Xingchen beside her as if she understood something. She surprisingly smiled and nodded, saying, Not bad, not bad. In the direction of the hidden Qin family, Qin Haoyan looked at the shy Hua Shuiyan and the noble and generous Luo Qingshan beside her, his eyes filled with jealousy. The gaze he directed toward Xingchen was full of killing intent. Second uncle, Xingchen insulted our Qin family like this. Is this matter just going to be dropped? Qin Haoyan looked at the middle-aged man beside him and asked. Hearing Qin Haoyan's words, the middle-aged man's killing intent flashed and disappeared, and he spoke. If it were only the Yao race, the Qin family could destroy them with a flip of the hand. What use are a few more immortal emperors? They simply don't understand the power of the hidden world giant Holy Land factions. It's just that now the Su family has actually stepped forward. This matter must be reported to Big Brother, letting Big Brother handle it. If this Xingchen also belongs to a hidden world giant Holy Land faction, then we can only make other plans. If he is not, It turned out that the middle-aged man was Qin Muji, the younger brother of Qin Chuanxiu, the clan chief of the hidden Qin family. Hearing Qin Muji's words, Qin Haoyan wore a sinister expression, his eyes filled with killing intent. Seeing the killing intent in his nephew's eyes, Qin Muji's mouth curled slightly as he whispered, Haoyan, although Xingchen cannot be touched right now, the Myriad Flowers Divine Palace cannot be forgiven. They are merely a top power on the Divine Wilderness continent. Yet they dare to disrespect the hidden Qin family and cause the Qin family such a loss of face. After this matter concludes, there will be no need for the Myriad Flowers Divine Palace to exist anymore. And if we discover that the Demon Clan Emperor, Xingchen, is also not a member of a hidden world forces, then the Yao race will likewise have no need to exist. Hearing Qin Muji's words, Qin Haoyan's eyes lit up, and he spoke with a sinister smile. Second uncle, when the time comes, leave Hua Xin and the Demon Empress to your nephew. This holy son will thoroughly conquer these two women and let them know who the truly powerful person is. Hearing Qin Haoyan's words, a hint of wickedness also flashed in Qin Muji's eyes. He nodded with a smile. Everything understood without words. Hua Xuyin, currently immersed in joy, had no idea that a massive crisis was heading toward the Myriad Flowers Divine Palace. Meanwhile, the hidden Qin family would, because of this incident, become the first hidden world forces to be directly annihilated immediately after its emergence. At this time, the immortal emperor experts of the various major powers, seeing the heavenly tribulation lightning cloud slowly dispersing, all gained some insights and a new understanding of the great emperor lightning tribulation that follows a breakthrough. Just as everyone was preparing to go back and reflect properly, suddenly, the heaven and earth shook. Above the endless forest, golden light filled the sky. Endless purple chi spread. The heavenly Tao law manifested, and a terrifying heavenly Tao will descended. It was as if a supreme divine object had been born, leaving everyone utterly shocked. At this moment, Wei Tianji, the master of Tianji City, stood respectfully before an old man. That old man was enveloped in Tao rime, emitting a terrifying pressure. He was precisely the master of Shenji Mountain, the hidden world giant Holy Land faction behind Tianji City. Wei Wendao, a supreme great emperor realm expert. He was also Wei Tianji's father. At this moment, he took a step forward, continuously forming seals with a single finger, and then instantly his face was filled with excitement as he shouted loudly. Today, the hidden sect Shenji Mountain emerges in the Divine Wilderness continent. We pray for the heavenly Tao's promise to jointly establish the Divine Wilderness prosperous era. As soon as Wei Wendao finished speaking, the sky above the entire Divine Wilderness continent boomed, as if the heavenly Tao had promised and responded to Wei Wendao's words. When Su Longxiao of the hidden Su family saw this scene, he likewise stepped into the void realm, stood with his hands behind his back, and said in a deep voice, Today, the hidden family Su family emerges in the Divine Wilderness continent. We pray for the heavenly Tao's promise to jointly establish the Divine Wilderness prosperous era. As soon as those same words fell, the sky above the entire Divine Wilderness continent boomed, also indicating the heavenly Tao's promise in response to Su Longxiao's words. All the hidden world giant Holy Land factions, seeing that Shenji Mountain and the Su family had both done this, being old foxes, how could they not understand what was happening? They stepped into the void realm one after another and spoke. Today, the hidden family Qin family emerges in the Divine Wilderness continent. We pray for the heavenly Tao's promise to jointly establish the Divine Wilderness prosperous era. Today, the hidden sword sect emerges in the Divine Wilderness continent. Today, the hidden Blade Pavilion emerges in the Divine Wilderness continent. Tianwu Pavilion emerges. 10,000 Longevity Valley emerges. Little Western Heaven emerges. Celestial Sword sect emerges. As the various hidden world giant Holy Land factions continuously shouted out, the sky above the entire Divine Wilderness continent constantly boomed. Throughout the Divine Wilderness continent, sweet dew fell from the sky, dragon and phoenix phantom images soared, and the heavenly Tao law, like order chains, descended from the heavens, displaying utmost majesty. The immortal spiritual chi throughout the Divine Wilderness continent grew denser and denser, plants grew wildly, and mountains rose higher. Wei Wendao looked at everything before him, forming seals with his hands, and couldn't help but burst into loud laughter, shouting excitedly, Ha ha ha! Good, good! I never expected that at this very moment, the heavenly Tao would manifest and the great era would descend, furthermore receiving the heavenly Tao's recognition. This is precisely the time for us to emerge. and everyone from the other top powers was utterly shocked, watching the astonishing changes occurring on the divine wilderness continent. At this moment, Xingchen looked up at the void realm. The summons from the depths of the void realm grew stronger and stronger, as if something was waiting for him. After all the strange phenomena vanished, the immortal spiritual chi of the entire divine wilderness continent had increased countless times over. Next, Wei Wendao looked at the distant void realm, with a golden light filling the sky, and the endless purple chi still had not dispersed. As if he realized something, his body involuntarily trembled. The words he spoke next astonished everyone. Chapter 98. Shock of the Various Forces, Land of Hidden Gods. At this moment, Wei Wendao looked at the golden light and endless purple chi that still hadn't dissipated, and said in shock, "The great era has arrived, and a heavenly treasure has been born. Where is that place with golden light and endless purple chi? Quickly investigate it for this emperor." As Wei Wendao's voice fell, Flame Emperor Wudi, wearing a golden dragon robe, stepped into the void realm and said, "Senior, there is no need to investigate. That location should be the endless forest of Shenlong City, which is also one of the Shenhuang Forbidden Land, and is called the Avici Hell entrance of the Emperor's tomb. In ancient times, it was a place where the demon race was imprisoned. There are countless opportunities within, and countless divine medicine immortal plant, but it is extremely dangerous. Even several immortal emperor who entered it have never come out. So it is called the Emperor's tomb, the tomb of a mortal emperor." At this moment, Wei Qianji just wanted to explain to his father, but Flame Emperor Wudi, the master of the great Yin dynasty, stood up and said directly. Hearing Flame Emperor Wudi's words, Wei Wendao remembered what Wei Tianji had told him about the situation of the divine wilderness continent, looked at the land of golden light, and kept pinching his fingers. Between the fingers of his right hand, it seemed to contain infinite heavenly secrets, which caused the space ripples around his fingers to shake. Suddenly, Wei Wendao's thumb and ring finger flicked open, and his whole body shook. His eyes widened, and he muttered to himself in horror. Above the heavenly Tao, the land of hidden gods, many experts around, including the various hidden world forces that had just been born, were also taken aback when they heard Wei Wendao's words. Wei Tianji, who was on the side, was also shocked when he heard his father's words, and couldn't help but ask, "Father, above the heavenly Tao, the land of hidden gods? What does it mean?" At this moment, Wei Wendao's right hand was still pinching his fingers nonstop, but the result was still that his thumb and ring finger flicked open suddenly, as if a mysterious force was preventing Wei Wendao's deduction. At this time, Wei Wendao slowly put down his hand and said to Wei Tianji, completely ignoring whether the surrounding forces had heard this secret, "You should know that if you want Wei Wendao to deduce such a secret, it costs a sky-high price in spirit stone. The so-called above the heavenly Tao is that this Avici hell is not governed by the heavenly Tao and is a kind of existence or small world that jumps out of the heavenly Tao. That land of hidden gods is that this Avici hell hides extremely mysterious things," or, after a pause, Wei Wendao looked at the void realm where the endless forest was located. Even at such a long distance, it was still filled with golden light, so he continued very firmly, "Or there's a secret to becoming a god hidden there." At this moment, everyone around was shocked when they heard Wei Wendao's words. Everyone's eyes widened, and they looked at the place filled with golden light. Who is Wei Wendao? People from the divine wilderness continent may not know, but who in the hidden world forces doesn't know? This is a great emperor realm figure who can calculate everything in the heavens and on earth. Since Wei Wendao said it, it must be right. Avici hell must hide the secret of becoming a god. Why did these hidden world forces come into being? Isn't it just to break the shackles in this world and find the secret of becoming a god? Now that the great era has arrived, these hidden world forces have once again been recognized by the heavenly Tao. How could they miss this opportunity? At this moment, Xingchen couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The divine wilderness is so big. There are countless capable people, and no one should be underestimated. Xingchen knew that the ancient treasure map was hidden in Avici hell, but he didn't know what the secret was. But Wei Wendao directly deduced it, which really made Xingchen admire him. Luo Qingshan, who was on the side, looked at the slowly dissipating heavenly Tao will and whispered to Xingchen beside her. Now that the heavenly Tao has once again recognized these hidden world forces, it seems that the great era has really arrived, and they are needed to build the divine wilderness together. Moreover, husband should have felt it. Now, because the immortal spiritual chi of the divine wilderness continent has recovered, the entire divine wilderness continent has begun to slowly become larger. I don't know what it will become. Hearing Luo Qingshan's words, Xingchen couldn't help but be slightly stunned and asked, "Wife, what did you just say about being recognized by the heavenly Tao again? What do you mean?" Hearing her husband's question, Luo Xingchen looked at those hidden world forces and said, "During the war between immortals and demons, these hidden world forces abandoned the divine wilderness continent and entered the hidden world small world. After so many years, they are no longer recognized by the divine wilderness continent heavenly Tao. Now that the great era has arrived, if they want to reappear, they must be recognized by the divine wilderness continent heavenly Tao before they can go to any immortal sites and divine sites in the divine wilderness continent to explore treasures and adventures. Otherwise, they will have no chance with any opportunity in the divine wilderness continent and will be excluded by the power of the heavenly Tao." This is why they said that to the heavenly Tao just now that they have come into being and been recognized by the heavenly Tao. Coupled with all these changes, it seems that the great era of this era has arrived. Whether we can break the shackles and step into a higher level depends on this life. Hearing Luo Xingchen's words, Xingchen understood. It's like when you encounter danger and abandon your friends. Now that your friends have become successful, you want to take advantage of them. Without your friends' permission, you can't take advantage of them. At this moment, some forces have already begun to slowly board the teleportation array and head towards Shenlong City. If someone takes the lead, more forces will join in. At this moment, all the forces boarded the teleportation array one after another and headed towards Shenlong City. They no longer cared about the disciple sparring event held by the Great Yin Dynasty. Even Flame Emperor Wudi himself led the experts of the Great Yin Dynasty and headed towards Shenlong City. After all, the secret of becoming a god was too tempting. Seeing that only the Yao race and the Myriad Flowers Divine Palace were left, Xingchen smiled slightly and said, let's go and see what kind of exciting secret this so-called land of hidden gods above the heavenly Tao has." Hearing Xingchen's words, Luo Xingchen and Hua Xuan looked at each other, smiled slightly, nodded at the same time, and walked towards the teleportation array. The scene changes to Shenlong City. At this moment, the huge Shenlong City is crowded with people. The powerful forces from all continents have rushed to Shenlong City. These forces seem to have received the news in advance. When they arrived at Shenlong City, they went directly to the depths of the Endless Forest. So many experts stepped into the Endless Forest, leaving countless corpses of experts in the already dangerous Endless Forest. This made those hot-headed forces instantly calm down. What kind of place is the Endless Forest? This is a Shen Huang forbidden land, which is full of dangers, extremely dangerous, and has countless ancient alien species and poisonous insects. It is not a place that anyone can enter casually. When Xingchen and others came to the Endless Forest, they saw many people from various forces. Some were dejected, and some had red eyes. Only then did they know what had happened. Seeing this scene, Xingchen suddenly had an idea. The first time he came to the Endless Forest, he did not encounter any danger from beginning to end, and even obtained a Shenhuang delicacy, the seven-colored elk. Now seeing this scene, Xingchen is even more sure that these must be related to his great Tao chaos body. His natural luck is heaven-defying, so he can turn bad luck into good luck and turn danger into auspiciousness, so he did not encounter any danger. But the Endless Forest is, after all, one of the Shenhuang forbidden land, and there are countless dangers in it. His luck is heaven-defying, but it does not mean that others are the same. After all, Xingchen is the only one with the great Tao chaos body in the entire divine wilderness. From the beginning, the major forces were hot-headed and blinded by the secret of becoming a god. But now countless disciples and friends have died, and they have finally woken up. In a short period of time, those people from ordinary forces decisively gave up this opportunity. Xingchen had already brought the Yao race and the Myriad Flowers Divine Palace to the depths of the Endless Forest, to the natural platform where he was last time. At this moment, countless experts were surrounding the entrance of the Avicii Hell, and the entire entrance exuded a dazzling golden light from the inside out. Countless purple chi formed a purple light curtain, sealing the entire entrance to the endless hell and preventing people from the major forces from entering it. Some forces even wanted to forcibly break through this purple light curtain, but in the end, they returned without success. There was no way. So many forces turned their attention to the direction where Wei Wundao was. Wei Wundao looked at the golden light and the rich purple chi, calculated with his fingers, and said, "The time has not come, the heavenly treasure has not been born, and it cannot be entered. At most tomorrow, the golden light will dissipate, and the Avicii Hell will open, and everyone can enter it." Hearing Wei Wundao's words, the major forces suddenly understood. All the divine, hidden secret places are protected by mysterious forces. If the time does not come, no one can enter. Therefore, all the major forces sat cross-legged around the entrance of the Avicii Hell. They all wanted to be the first to enter the Avicii Hell. On the other hand, they also wanted to replenish their energy. After all, no one knew what would happen when they entered it. Xingchen and others also sat down after hearing Wei Wendao's words. At this time, the two women, Luo Qingshan and Hua Shuyan, did not know when they began to become more and more intimate, and their eyes were full of deep affection when they looked at Xingchen. When the Yao race and the myriad flowers divine palace saw this scene, they would all smile knowingly. Xingchen seemed to understand something, smiled slightly, and slowly closed his eyes, thinking to himself. System, start today's check-in. Chapter 99. Ancient Divine Vine, Entering Avicii Hell. At this moment, watching the two women's intimate appearance, Xingchen smiled slightly, slowly closed his eyes, but spoke in his heart. System, today's check-in begins. As soon as he finished speaking, the system's voice rang out. Ding, the system is checking in. Check-in successful. Congratulations, host, for obtaining the reward. Ancient Divine Vine. The Ancient Divine Vine was formed from a section of the World Tree during the time of chaos, when heaven and earth first opened. It is incomparably hard, possesses astonishing defense, comes with its own divine ability, has endless wondrous uses, and is the only remaining section in the entire divine wilderness continent, making it exceptionally precious. Ascending to the sky, it can transform into a giant flying boat, traversing the void realm and ignoring any spatial law. Descending to the earth, it can transform into a green vine pavilion, magnificent and spectacular, like the abode of ancient gods. Entering water, it can transform into an ancient warship, riding the wind and waves, capable of traversing any body of water. Ding, the system is checking in. Check-in successful. Congratulations, host, for obtaining the reward. A bottle of Spirit Cleansing Pill. Spirit Cleansing Pill, a divine grade medicinal pill, refined by an ancient supreme existence, extremely precious. Taking it can remove evil, demonic miasma chi from a body, purify the mind, and prevent any invasion from evil demons or miasma chi. Ding, the system is checking in. Check-in successful. Congratulations, host, for obtaining the reward. 1 million high-grade divine stones. High-grade divine stones are extremely rare in the divine wilderness continent. They contain extremely rich, immortal spiritual power. Used for cultivation, they can accelerate cultivation speed without any impurities, causing no harm to the body. At this moment, hearing the system's melodious voices, Xingchen felt a surge of excitement. The system's rewards today were all things that had never appeared before. Looking at the high-grade divine stones shimmering with divine light in the system space, and feeling the immense and rich immortal spiritual chi within them, Xingchen was extremely satisfied. Looking at the bottle of spirit cleansing pills in the system space, he swept it with his divine sense and found tens of thousands of them, though each pill was tiny, like a green bean, emitting a faint fluorescent glow. What satisfied Xingchen the most was the section of green, ancient divine vine in the system space. Even the system called it an exceptionally precious item. This ancient divine vine was simply too practical. It was proficient in ascending to the sky, descending to the earth, and entering the sea. This was simply a divine item essential for travel. Opening his eyes, Xingchen smiled slightly, looking at Luo Qingshan and Hua Shuyan, who were still intimately chatting together. As if sensing something, the two women turned their heads to look in Xingchen's direction, only to find Xingchen looking at them with a gentle expression, their gazes meeting and transforming into myriad tenderness. The next day, approaching noon, the people from various major forces who were meditating suddenly discovered that at the entrance of Avicii Hell, golden light filled the sky, transforming into a pillar of energy, and endless purple chi entered the light pillar. As the purple chi entered the light pillar, it sometimes transformed into a divine beast roaring to the sky, and sometimes into 9 heavens divine thunder, annihilating everything, finally slowly converging into a single point and merging into the golden light pillar. And the golden light pillar had now completely changed, becoming a noble purple gold color. The next moment, the purple gold light pillar, radiating terrifying energy, transformed into a streak of purple gold flowing light and entered Avicii Hell. With a boom, a loud sound erupted. At the entire entrance of Avicii Hell, black gases, carrying intense evil and violent intent, surged out from within Avicii Hell, as if being chased by something, dissipating into the air. After about the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, no more black gas spewed from the entrance of Avicii Hell. However, everyone felt a great fear emanating from the entrance of Avicii Hell. Unlike the violent and evil black gases, this was a fear that originated from the soul. It was as if there was some taboo beneath Avicii Hell, causing all the powerhouses at the entrance of Avicii Hell to instantly feel their hair stand on end and cold sweat stream down their bodies. Everyone looked at the now open Avicii hell, but no force dared to be the first to descend. Just then, that terrifying great fear disappeared, and a rich fragrance emanated from the entrance of Avicii hell. Upon smelling this fragrance, the people from the various major forces discovered that just a single whiff increased their internal cultivation. And the Qin family, which had not made any further moves, and Huangfu Bubi, the master of Xingchen Palace, who had been hiding among the major forces and acting extremely low-key, now had eyes shining with divine light. Qin Haoyan, the holy son of the Qin family, even exclaimed in surprise, "Undying divine tree flower." As soon as Qin Haoyan finished speaking, Huangfu Bubi's immortal spiritual qi surged throughout his body, transforming into a protective divine light, and he directly shot towards Avicii hell, disappearing in the blink of an eye. At this moment, the major forces, hearing Qin Haoyan's words and seeing Huangfu Bubi directly transform into a streak of flowing light and enter Avicii hell, were all slightly stunned. The next moment, all the people from the various forces cursed inwardly, and all transformed into streaks of flowing light, entering Avicii hell. However, Xingchen unhurriedly stood up and said to Sikong Guyao and the others, "Let's go. We'll also go in and see what secrets this Avicii hell hides." After speaking, he glanced at Hua Xuan. Seeing Hua Xuan nod slightly at him, Xingchen took a step, transforming into a streak of flowing light, and disappeared. The others also transformed into streaks of flowing light and entered Avicii hell. The scene shifted to the interior of Avicii hell. At this moment, the immortal emperor powerhouses of the Yao race and the immortal emperor powerhouses of the Myriad Flowers Divine Palace were spread around, firmly protecting the young prodigies of their two races in the center. However, Xingchen led Luo Qingshan and Hua Xuyan, standing at the very front of the team. Looking at the scenery inside of Avicii hell, Luo Qingshan couldn't help but exclaim excitedly, "Husband, look how beautiful the scenery is." And Hua Xuyan, who usually had a cold personality, couldn't help but feel a little excited at this moment, saying, "Yes, it's truly beautiful. Who named this Avicii hell? Such a beautiful scenery was given such a terrifying name." At this moment, before everyone's eyes was a sea of flowers. Various strange flowers and exotic grasses bloomed competitively, emitting bursts of fragrance, like colorful waves, making one feel refreshed and unable to resist wanting to run into the sea of flowers. And above their heads, there was actually a brilliant starry sky, with countless stars, vast and boundless, reflecting each other, as if narrating secrets hidden for thousands of years. And all of this, as Wei Wan Dao had indeed predicted, was a complete small world. Looking at everything before them, everyone couldn't help but feel their hearts lighten, involuntarily letting down their guard. Such beautiful scenery could indeed make everyone relax their vigilance. At this moment, Xingchen, hearing Luo Qingshan and Hua Xuan's words, his eyes flashing with purple gold, a slight curl to his lips, looked at the relaxed expressions of the Yao race and Myriad Flowers Divine Palace members around him, and said, "Sometimes, the more beautiful the scenery, the more terrifying the danger it hides. For example, right now, this beautiful scenery can make even immortal emperor powerhouses and great emperor powerhouses relax their guard and expose weaknesses. Do you still think this scenery is beautiful?" Xingchen's words were like a thunderclap, exploding directly in everyone's hearts, causing everyone to instantly tremble and sober up. Even Lu Ruosu, who was at the great emperor realm, had a look of shock and couldn't help but exclaim, "What a powerful illusion." It actually made everyone involuntarily enter it and drop their guard. Hearing Lu Ruosu's words, everyone trembled, instantly breaking out in cold sweat, but Xingchen's lips curled slightly, and his subsequent words greatly astonished everyone. Chapter 100, Terrifying Black Bugs, the Immortal God Tree. At this moment, hearing Lu Ruosu's words, everyone shuddered, cold sweat streaming down their backs. Xingchen's eyes glowed with purple gold light, the corner of his mouth curling as he spoke. "Aunt Lu, this isn't an illusion, it's real. The sea of flowers before us truly exists, but these exotic plants hold a hidden secret." By now the group had regained their senses. Turning to Xingchen, they waited for his next words. Moments earlier, everyone had been lost in the gorgeous view, even great emperor realm Lu Ruosu. Yet Xingchen had remained unharmed and even awakened the rest. Clearly he had already seen through the trap. Meeting their stares, Xingchen smiled faintly and said, "Everything here is genuine, a complete small world possessing a world heart. The dazzling river of stars overhead is equally real. The reason you relaxed and dropped your guard was this very patch of real but strange flowers and grasses. You might wonder, How could mere plants make immortal emperors? Great emperors even lose themselves in beauty. These grasses are dragon saliva grass. The 7-colored blooms are rainbow night flowers. Dragon saliva grass is an exceedingly rare alchemy material now seldom seen on the divine wilderness continent. Rainbow night flowers, famed for blooming in 7 hues, were once the most common exotic flora in ancient times. Individually, neither plant poses any problem. Yet once dragon saliva grass and rainbow night flowers grow together, their mingled fragrance rapidly relaxes the mind and strips away vigilance. In antiquity, they were used to gather essence, calm the spirit, and soothe the heart. Look over there. If we'd all relaxed just now, what would have happened? Following his pointing finger, the group turned. The sight sent icy dread racing up their spines. Only then did they understand why this place is called a Vici hell. Not far ahead, where the sea of flowers grew, dozens of divine wilderness experts lay sprawled, finger-length black insects swarming over their bodies. Closer inspection revealed the entire flower patch teeming with silent black bugs. From a distance, they looked like dark soil. Only the occasional flash of white bone made it horrifyingly clear. This gorgeous bloom thrived upon a colossal bed of skeletons. In mere moments, the bodies of those experts were completely buried by the black swarm. No scent of blood, only the flower's sweet perfume masking the carnage. Scalp-numbing dread gripped everyone. They finally grasped Xingchen's warning. The more beautiful the place, the greater the terror it might hide. These divine wilderness powerhouses must have been lured by the blossoms, stepped in without a thought, and perished beneath the lovely trap. The Yao disciples now gazed at Xingchen with familiar pride. In their eyes, their emperor could do no wrong. Myriad flowers, divine palaces, women looked on with deep gratitude. Without Xingchen, they too would have entered the flowers and met a grisly end. They were women who loved beauty. The mere thought made their scalps tingle. Hua Xuyan watched Xingchen with affection in her eyes, while Lu Ruosu asked in puzzlement, "Emperor Yi, so many experts entered. Why were only a few dozen swallowed by the flowers?" At her question, every gaze returned to Xingchen, curiosity written on their faces. He smiled slightly and replied, "Distance. These black bugs appear to be territorial. Step outside their range, and they won't attack, plus they rely on the flower cover. Otherwise, they'd be too conspicuous." Seeing their understanding nods, Xingchen's expression turned grave. "You've tasted Avicii Hell's terror, and we've only just arrived. Deeper in, dangers will come thick and fast. Remember, stay calm. Take only what's ours. Greed will bury you here." At his solemn words, everyone nodded earnestly. Xingchen swept them with his divine sense and said, "Move out. Those other powers have stopped just ahead. We'll join them. The first opportunity within Avicii Hell lies before us." He glanced once more at the flower sea, then added, "Combined, dragon saliva grass and rainbow night flowers soothe qi and calm the mind. Excellent against qi deviation and helpful for cultivation. You may yet need them. If you want to earn some spirit stones, pick a few from afar." The moment he finished, Yao disciples and Myriad Flowers Divine Palace disciples' eyes lit up. They gathered some of each plant and stored them in their storage rings. The immortal emperors, however, showed no interest in such things. When everyone was ready, Xingchen turned to Luo Qingshan and Hua Xuyan and said, "Let's go. The opportunity should lie just ahead." With that, he soared forward. Luo Qingshan and Hua Xuyan exchanged a soft smile, eyes full of tenderness as they watched the white-robed figure, then sped after him. Moments later, the group arrived at an enormous lake where the major powers stood on the shore, eyes blazing as they stared at the center. There, a colossal ancient tree towered into the sky, its branches like twisting dragons, jade-green leaves sparkling with crystalline light beneath the starlight. Rich floral scent drifted down. Amid the dense foliage bloomed 9 golden-petaled flowers. Dao rings encircled each bloom. Vast law of life turned into green halos that spread an intoxicating perfume. Everyone who inhaled felt their cultivation rise, their lifespan slowly increase. Even old internal injuries begin to heal. Sensing the tree's extraordinariness, Xingchen knew it must be the immortal god Trichin Haoyan had spoken of, and those golden Dao-wrapped petals were none other than the undying divine tree flowers. Purple gold light flared in Xingchen's eyes as his illusion-breaking divine eye focused on the tree. Information streamed into his mind. Immortal God Tree, one of the 9 primordial divine trees, bears 9 blooms, each with 9 petals. Swallow 1 petal, and all illness vanishes, with a chance to comprehend the supreme law of life and extend life 1,000,000 years. Must grow within Yellow Springs water, ever living and indestructible, surviving countless epochs. Reading the data, he glanced down at the lake. Another message entered his thoughts. After scanning it, he shook his head softly, marveling at the wonder of life. A sudden scream rang out. The major powers merely frowned, apparently having expected the outcome. The Yao and Myriad Flowers' divine palace disciples turned to look, and everyone save Xingchen felt their eyelids twitch and their bodies go numb.